Hello and welcome everybody back once again to the Init Esports channel for the grand debut of the Team USA Talent Scout event. We are in for an absolute thriller here, not just tonight, but for multiple events after this, and the next event is going to be in some IndyCars on May 3rd. For anyone that is curious on signups about any events in the future, head on over to the initesports.gg/carsim, a link in the chat very shortly here, as we, of course, have it soon. A big warm welcome to everybody that is joining us as well, wherever you are in this world. A massive thank you to everybody joining us here on either Twitch or, of course, on the eClutch TV channels as well. We're going to be in it for tonight for not just a race. We, of course, have a qualifying that we're going to be getting into very, very briefly. But let me talk about this event as a whole for us here. What we have is a Team USA Talent Scout event. Now, you might ask, what exactly does that mean? What that means is that we are looking for American talent like yourselves out there to qualify or be a part of the Team USA to head down to the Esports Olympics in 2027. So it's not going to be down to the winner. The winner does not necessarily qualify for it at the end of the day. It's going to be down to the participation of every single event in this race, and all of the races, of course, adding up to a certain amount, but it's not a points championship. This is, of course, we're looking for the best of the best sim racers, and if you are consistently the best, you're a lot more likely to be chosen. Now, as we have it, Sebring, 90 minutes at this circuit on what was once a World War II fighter base and now has never been repaved, and we still race on it to this day. It's a bumpy one. It's a tricky one. And in the GT3 cars that we're going to be seeing tonight, it is going to be an absolute handful. Regular BOP, for anyone that is curious, we'll be looking at that, of course, in the future. But all things considered, tonight is going to be a door-banging extravaganza, as Sebring often is. We'll talk the track here just briefly. It's a 3.7 mile circuit, or 5.9 kilometers, located down in Sebring, Florida. 17 corners on it. That's going to be 10 to the right and 7 to the left for what is a roller coaster of a circuit. The first chicane being a very, very twisty, windy section. Your best overtakes really happening down into the first corner, as well as down into the hairpin turn on the bottom of the track. But we'll be seeing that, of course, very, very shortly. Qualifying is underway. We'll be jumping into that in a moment. And when we do, we'll be seeing what it is like for these drivers currently out there on this circuit. Now, of course, this being the first event of many, as I did mention, we have, of course, coming up Indy 250. That'll be on May 3rd. After that, the Watkins Glen 90 on the 21st of June. September 12th being Bristol, under the lights, of course, and a little night race there. That'll be very, very fun. Then Road Atlanta, and last but not least, the Laguna 45 in December. That's all of the events that we have planned for this year for the Team USA Talent Scout event. And if those, of course, are dates that are open to you, head on over to the Init Esports website to sign up for that. But I would love to hear if we can get down onto the quali session. We'll be seeing what it is like, again, for those drivers on the track and wrestling the octopus, really, that is this circuit. Twisty, windy, tight at the best of times. There will be a pit stop, more than likely tonight. It's going to be close, technically down to the end. We would expect, of course, that halfway strategy typically being expected, more or less, and we'll see if that does play down to it here tonight. Now, again, just waiting for the cue. Here we go as we get ready to go on down here to the quali session, and we get to take a look. Pole position is going to be Jordan Johnson, the Apex Racing Academy driver. Jackson behind, Soto in second, Lewis down in third right now. Pole position of a 159, one entire second separating the two. Hopefully that gap will come down here. I'm expecting it to. We do have a couple drivers out there as well, I think from real life, so we'll be very excited to see what they can produce out on circuit. As we just, have, of course, getting onto it here just through the qualifying session. If we go on board as well, we could get a nice little deep dive on a lap here fully of this Sebring circuit. Currently taking a look again at our pole sitter into the middle section. He's even being a bit of a nuisance, holding up a fellow McLaren in the background there. We'll see if that plays anything. Down to it, of course, at the end of this quali, the longer it goes, the more the track is going to be rubbered in. Optimal amount of rubber will be towards the end. We see a bit of weaving from the background, so the McLaren in the back has given up on this lap. Hopefully they will find a bit of clean air, or maybe this is some teamwork potentially between the two as well. The slipstreaming, though, shouldn't be too helpful on this track. It's very twisty, windy, and really only down the start-finish straight that you see here and the Ullman straight on the back, you're going to have a little bit of help. But let's go with a full lap here with the Apex Racing Academy. Through the first corner, high speed, high commitment left-hander, where you got to get it stuck in before you get into another high speed, high commitment left-hander into turn 2. It's a bit of a chicane almost, as you have to turn the car back right to get it left again, down into the gurney bend. Very easy flat out in these GT3 cars on the way down towards the hairpin. It's going to be a late dive opportunity. Best overtaking spot really on the track if you're sort of bold enough. It's a tough track to overtake on, so qualifying will be excruciatingly important. Through the Ullman, or through the hairpin, nice and tidy. Get that launch into the Fangio chicane, and then up into the Cunningham corners, down into the Collier curve. It's where things get tight, technical, and, well, passing becomes a luxury. You'll be seeing a lot of mistakes around here, more than likely, and that's where drivers will find an easy time to get by. But once they get it straightened out, down towards the Flying Fortress straight, into Bishop Bend, and then through the Le Mans curve to get yourself rounded back on towards the Ullman, where those are going to be a nice little breathing room, a break for the drivers. Once you come on through, this is going to be down into the bend and through Le Mans now. Long sort of chicane right-hander, taking it wide onto the runoff area. Got to be careful. It's easy to rack up speed token penalties here, but now you get a moment to breathe. DRS zone, not for these cars. No active rear wing to be had for the GT3s. And looking into the final corner now. Nice and tight to the apex, back on the loud pedal, and to the line. Are we going to see an improvement? The current time of 59.7 from Jordan Johnson, and crossing it, it is a 59.748 once again. So just getting into that pole position and improving very, very slightly. Nobody yet going to be contending. 1.1 seconds to the back. Soto very far behind in comparison, and looking to close down the gap potentially is going to be Russell. Let's see if he can get it down on this lap as he is just beginning. .201.3 in the background from Lewerk there. So slight improvements to be had into 5th. The top 10 still nice and, well, spread out, all things considered. 2-second gap from Turner down to Johnson. Behind that, Tomazic in 12th. Stringer down in 11th. And down at the back, Kaufman currently sitting with 4.9 seconds here. Jones also about 2.9, but the real ones to contend with, Johnson here, just does not seem to be beatable. Jace Wright, a Lamborghini enthusiast himself from multiple platforms. That, of course, is a great talking point to be had here, as well as this is on the iRacing simulator, as every single round of this championship will be, not championship, excuse me, every single round of this racing series will be. But some of these drivers are from ACC. They might not be the most familiar with the iRacing simulator. I know Steven Tomazic is one that comes from it. Willis, he came from it a long time ago, but has been an iRacing sort of nerd since then. Jace Wright seems to be a jack of all trades, able to transition from both simulators, and I know that's good for most of these drivers. They are doing, of course, their best on both of the sims they can, but that being the specialty, seemingly, of Jordan Johnson, our pole sitter, and by an absolute mile. Soto What do you have in the background? Let's see, though. Jace Wright up next to the line here as he crosses through the final corner and to the line. Do we see an improvement here from fourth? It's going to be a 2-minute .890 for Jace Wright, and he's going to retire that back into the pit lane. That's all he's managed, and Soto able to improve. Nicely done from Russell into the 159s, just about, not quite, but .74 off of pole, so nearly down into those margins. Of course, you're expecting the driver, especially in those mid-packs, very, very tight between Jace Wright, Jackson, Roberts, Lewick there, just setting a 2:01.5, so no improvement there just yet for him. Let's see as we get down to the wire. You can also see, of course, the I rating playing a role there, and, well, of course, seeing Johnson having the highest I rating in the lobby, I guess you would expect him to be up at the top. An 8.1K, that is certainly a feat to have, and there's a nice little feat to be had as well for quickly improving up into the 201s, 1.6 tenths off of the pole position. Now, qualifying, getting down to the wire here. This is one of the most important qualifyings a lot of these drivers have taken part in, of course, for the Team USA Talent Scout event. This will be all eyes on these drivers for what they're going to do. And again, not just in this race, but in future ones. We're going to be keeping an eye on their journeys and almost telling a story for some of them. Russell Soto, seemingly one of the competitors, the fierce competitors out there, and the question is there enough dog in the fight here? We all know the saying that's not about the fight and the dog, it's about the dog in the fight. And Soto, 0.474 off of pole. Just because he's a little slower in quali doesn't mean he's going to be slower in the race. He's going to be trying to take down Johnson into the actual side-by-side battles. And looking at Soto here, he's going to get one last good attempt of a quali. Once that 15-minute mark is done, actually, no, he's not. Is he qualifying now? Of course, rounding down to it. So any driver that was previously on a lap will no longer be able to complete one, or will be able to complete one. Any driver that has not started will not be able to begin. There is Kelton Quick, currently in 7th position in that Ford Mustang GT3, a brilliant piece of machinery for this Sebring circuit, the American car on the American track for Team USA. Is it going to be enough, though, for pole position? That's a whole different story as the number 2 rounds the final bend now. It's going to need to be an absolute Hail Mary into the end zone, wide through the final corner, and the Ford Mustang to the line. Looks like they're going to stay 7th. Quick, just 2:01.6. They got a little bit improvement there at the end. About a 10th, but not enough to gain seemingly a position there. Turner just behind, and qualifying now getting down to the end. This is going to be Lewis Holloway, getting ready to finish up their session here and taking the curbs quite aggressively into the final sector, looking to hopefully find any little bit of time through the final sector now, and going to be crossing the line very shortly. Let's see if we have any form. Oh, excuse me. No, my apologies. We're on to the Ullman, as all the corners here tend to look the same at times. And now we'll give that one last try here as we go into the final corner, and we'll be finishing off our lap here. Lewis Holloway, one of the registers out here. I'm just trying to find on the page here is I know we have some drivers that are relatively newer to sim racing, which is awesome to see the trials and tribulations for some. And hold that thought, folks, because Lewis Holloway, everybody, is a man of my heart and has just become one of my favorite drivers out there on circuit, because he just did something that most drivers have not done enough of, in my opinion, and that is practice their pit entries. You love to see it. Lewis Holloway, round of applause for you, sir. I respect you practicing your pit entries, and I would love to see all of the drivers doing that, because I don't see enough drivers doing so. There might be, again, technically, I don't think there is going to be a stop required. There is not one mandatory. However, the fuel and the tires are going to warrant one, so when the drivers will be coming in is going to be a bit of a mystery. We'll see. Probably around that halfway point, you're going to see it maybe down towards the final 20 minutes. The fuel shouldn't be an issue here. It's really going to be tires. This is an old, bumpy World War II hangar, as I mentioned. It's never been repaved whatsoever, and it is it's a tough one at the end of the day. This is a circuit that will eat away your tires without any mercy whatsoever. It is 10 corners, 17 corners, 10 to the right and 7 to the left. It means you're going to be experiencing a little bit more wear on those left-hand side tires. You're turning more to the right, which means your left is going to be worn slightly more. Of course, you can take 2 tires in NASCAR, but here in the GT racing, I expect everybody to be taking a full set of boots and 4s, but you never know. Because of track position being so important at Sebring, maybe you go for the gamble, you go for a bit of an alternate strategy, and maybe go for no tires and try to gain a couple positions, hold on to it towards the end. The real thing is you have to hold on to the car. That will be the absolute most difficult challenge to have. I also wanted to remind everybody, for the Team USA Talent Scout event, there is not just one category out there. We have 2 categories, both a open and a women's category. So if that's something that, of course, interests you, we have something here for absolutely everybody. And I encourage you to sign up for the future events because, of course, again, gives you that chance to get onto Team USA and qualify not just for the Team USA, but again, the Olympics in 2027 for the Esports Olympics. It is going to be an absolute thriller. It's a ways away, but of course that gives people plenty of time, not just to build the rosters, but of course to build their skills up as well. It's a long time in the making, and you got to be at your peak performance for such an occasion. Now though, we're going to be getting into the race very shortly, and of course seeing Johnson up on pole position. Can he be stopped? That's the question. Soto wasn't quite able to dethrone him in the way that we would have expected. Russell, though, 0.7 seconds to the good. So a bit off in terms of quality pace, but again, translating that over to the racetrack, will it be able to hold fast? Will we be able to not have any mistakes? That's something to keep in mind as well. Is racing, anything can happen, and it normally does, and Sebring is certainly a track in which that will happen as well. The bumps, the undulations, the wall that's right on the outside of that final corner, I expect drivers to be bumping into it. I expect to see a bit of mayhem, a bit of carnage, and all around a little bit of fun. That's what we're here for at the end of the day, of course, right? Is for all these drivers to have a good time. This is a stressful occasion for some. I know for a fact. I talked with a couple of the drivers behind the scenes. They were a little bit nervous, and I understand why. It's a big event, but of course, it's just down to delivering. Let those nerves fuel you. Let them push you into a better version of yourself. Don't let them eat you up and make you crawl into a ball. We want to see the deliveries and we want to see the absolute best, and we will be very, very shortly. And also, I love to see in chat the love that's being shown. We have the Pure Flow race team that's cheering on Jesse, Paige, Mark, and Lewis, as well as, well, I think just in general, the Camber and Caster drivers that are out there on track. So, of course, representing that Camber and Caster community, we have a lot of communities being represented out there, and we'd love to hear who you are from. Let us know in the chat, and we give you a nice little shout out as well, of course, because it's all about a big family here at Init. We don't want to just be, of course, the big federation. We need you guys. We need everybody, and it's all thanks to the people that sign up, and thank you guys for that as well. And yes, indeed, there is the Camber and Caster love being shown in chat. We'll be seeing the Camber and Casters out on track very, very shortly, but we will be doing that very, very soon. So actually, in the meantime, folks, we're going to throw to a quick little break, and we will be back in the next couple minutes for that race action. So don't go anywhere. And welcome back, everybody. Got to enjoy a little brief intermission of these cars driving around on the circuit. And this is what I love to see. The practice. It doesn't matter how much you get. It's all the way down to the end here. Every single second matters, and especially for this man on screen, Russell Soto, who has the biggest chance to dethrone the man that finished on pole position. And the question is, can he bring it to him in the first corner? The earlier, the better here. And of course, if you can make it by in that first corner, you're going to be setting yourself up for success. We'll just briefly go over the qualifying results. We'll have a time, of course, to go over the grid in a moment. But our top three is, of course, going to be Johnson, Soto, and Wright. Jace Wright. Gotta say, that is a time down to the wire that I was not expecting. Just 1.1 seconds off of that 1:59.7 that we saw from Johnson. An absolutely stonking time. Jordan set that pretty early on in qualifying as well. This man on your screen right now for the Apex Racing Academy, and really is making this look easy out on track. This McLaren here. Definitely a car, in my opinion, it's difficult to drive in the iRacing platform, but certainly making it look fairly easy. We also see in chat from JuanFan25, Russell Soto. Seeing some love in chat for Russell, so let's see it, chat. Who are you here for? Who are you supporting? And of course, a big thank you to everyone joining us here, wherever you are in this fine world. I hope everyone's having a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning. We thank you for joining us here on the Init Esports Twitch channel, or of course, if you are watching over on the eClutch TV channel, broadcast across the world. Thank you guys for joining us. And of course, for being a part of this event. Big shout out to all of our drivers. Let's see, we got Rose Gaming, Steven Tomazic, one of the drivers in chat, rearing and ready to go. And again, I'd imagine the nerves are buzzing at this point. This is when the drivers now, all of the practice that they've led up to this event has come into play. And these are the results up at the top. Jordan Johnson, folks, takes pole position with a 59.7. Behind that, Russell Soto in second. Third place belonging to Jace Wright with Andrew Jackson in fourth. Fifth belonging to Sean Roberts. Sixth place, Mark Lewis. Down in seventh is going to be Kelton Quick. Bronson Turner down in P8. Down in ninth position, we have Josh Willis with Lavorin behind him in 10th. We had Dick in 11th with Steven Tomazic in 12th. Stringer in 13th, Cook down in 14th, Holloway 15th, Jones in 16th, and Paige Kaufman rounding out the back, folks. No warm-up for the outlap. We're just going to have 6 lights coming on in the pace car going for an outlap, it looks like. My apologies, as iRacing is going to do iRacing things, and we will have a solid full outlap here, it looks like, of the Sebring circuit. It's going to be 90 minutes on the clock, and the drivers eager as ever to get going. It's going to be a bit of a delay here for them. This is the most important time. The drivers to get the heat into the tires, to get the brakes up to temperature. You'll notice a lot of them are going to be jamming on their brakes, getting heat into not just their tires and the surface temps, but the core temperatures. Get the brakes warm, because of course that is the hottest part of these cars. They can get up to 1,000 degrees centigrade pretty much, and that heat normally would just be wasted away into the wheel wells, but of course right now that is where you want them to be. You want that heat to get transferred into the wheel wells, heat up the cores of your tires, not just the surface, so when you go to brake, it doesn't just give away. The tire doesn't just flatten out and you straight line into the back of somebody or into the runoff areas. It's easy said, easy to do, I should say. Maybe know from experience, I don't know, could say so. Hopefully, we don't see any of that. The drivers going to be on their best behavior, you would imagine here, especially into lap 1, but the problem is, of course, this being such a high caliber event, the drivers want it all as early as they can, but you can't win a motor race on the first lap, but you certainly can lose one. We don't want to see that from anybody. We want to see everyone making it to the checkered flag here tonight, and it does not matter what position you are in. It's about the results at the end of this entire event calendar, really. So it's not just down to this one event. This is not going to be the make or break for the Team USA, and that's one thing these drivers have to keep in mind, is it's a constant string of performances they need to have here. And Johnson, well, he's looking to bring away a solid performance tonight. Soto is the one that's going to be knocking on the door trying to answer. Jace Wright, I have not mentioned, by the way, too much, and not for good, or not for no reason in particular, is what I'm trying to say here. He is going to be one up here as well. He was only, I think, 1.2 seconds off of pole position, which is only like 0.3 away from Soto. So, being close. Jackson also right on the back of Wright in the qualifying sessions. Expect some door-banging excursions throughout the mid-pack, but hopefully nothing to string the carbon fiber and no souvenirs to be taken home for any of the marshals on the side. Big shout out as well to, of course, our marshals behind the scene. We got Sophie rolling on the stewarding here tonight. And, of course, if you guys are going to be enjoying this, we thank you so much. You guys hit that follow button here on the Init Esports Twitch channel. If you guys are interested, the Discord as well. I'm curious if we can get a link posted there, Sophie. I don't know if you can. We'll see if we can get a link posted for the Discord here shortly, as I think it's also down in the description. But you can head over to initesports.gg to find out all the information about our upcoming championships and signups as well. I can throw a link to that in the chat right now. Right now, there we go. We got there. We got there, folks. We do it live, but here we go. As we're going to be doing it live, the pace car is going to be ready to peel into the lane, and the de facto safety car will be handed over to the pole sitter, Jordan Johnson. Event 1 of the Team USA Talent Scout event, ready to get underway. Jordan Johnson on pole position, Russell Soto alongside. We are green racing, and immediately trying to throw it 3 abreast into the first corner. Not going to work out for Jace Wright on this occasion. He has to settle for 3rd. Andrew Jackson down into 4th position with Sean Roberts settling in 5th. That Ford Mustang GT3 looking like a tasty morsel right now. Sean Roberts having a bit of battling in the background as Josh Willis is already up 3 positions on the opening few corners. Drivers dropping back in the background as we see there. That looks like another position lost for Sean Roberts, I think, or is that Josh Willis? I think muscling on by the Acura NSX or Honda NSX from whichever country you are from. Doing work early, side by side into the braking zone, and that is going to be position gain. No, that's position held for Andrew. Side by side immediately, though, as Josh Willis is trying to take advantage of Andrew Jackson's falters, and up there goes the 22 into 5th position. 4 positions gained already for the man on your screen here. Willis carving through the field like Thanksgiving turkey. Up ahead, Jordan Johnson still grasping onto the lead right now, but is he grasping onto it with a full-on military rope, or is it going to be by a thread? Right now, Russell Soto looks awfully hungry and is trying to wear his, or be a new license plate practically, to Johnson. Stick alongside until you get through the bend, down through Bishop's Bend, and onto the Le Mans curve. Now, do you pull the trigger? The AMG. It's quick. Is it going to be quick enough, though, with the slipstream and the helping hand of, well, nobody else? No, Jace Wright getting a nice little tow, of course, with that oh my goodness, I still cannot say that word. A cumulative slipstream effect. Easy enough for me as an American English speaker. We get on through. Jace Wright falling off the back right now. He needs to keep up if he wants this podium position chance. He keeps in that slipstream of Soto. He'll be there at the end. Jackson trying just to keep onto the back as well, but right now Willies is going to be rubbing a hole in his bumper and trying to find a way on by. Same could be said, though, for Roberts. Sean there getting held up, it seems, by the Acuras. That's, is that Kelton Quick? I know, I think that is actually, that is Sean Roberts, yes. Getting held up by Joshua Willis there slightly. He lost that position early on in lap 1 and has not been able to take it back just yet. Kelton Quick behind, looking like about 2 seconds right now, as that is sort of where the gap to our lead pack is starting to split. It's the Ford Mustang bridge, I guess you could say, or expression that I am not clever enough to think of. Either way, they're trying to basically cross a long river right now of air, which Sounds counterintuitive, but it is for the drivers behind Kelton Quick. Bronson Turner trying to negotiate by Steven Tomazic behind as well. Positions gained early on here, 4 for Josh Willis, 4 for Sebring Cook, as well as Lewis Holloway up 3 positions. Lily Bolin up as well, 3 positions into 15th position respectively. Love to see it. Our race leader, though, looking comfortable as ever and really seemingly has a solid handle on this race. Back in the background, I just see Lurick dropping down the order. Now, is this going to be due to a collision, or yes, it looks like it might be. Kaufman also getting caught up in some dramas. Hopefully, everything will be under wraps there. I did want to take a little mention, but maybe not right now, as Jordan Johnson is looking like a tasty morsel, and Russell Soto might be looking to get a move done now. Down the start finish straight, forcing a defense maybe out of Johnson. No, Johnson is comfortable as ever and not going to be blinking that easily. I do want to take a look back, though, down to 10th position really fast, because I don't think we're going to have much time to talk about her for too long. Sebring Cook carving through the field as well here, up 4 positions. Now, I wanted to mention about Cook, she is a professional racing driver, a Porsche GT4 RS driver as well, and driving in the number 37 for the Carrera Cup North America Series. Love to see the bridge from real life to sim being broken here, and of course she being quite the successful Porsche driver, representing the grid here. And representing the women out there as well as a few others, of course, but I think she is leading in the women's category and also looking to make some gains still. Long ways to go in this race, but she just has to hold on. And, well, of course, in the Porsche 992 GT3R, you're looking like quite the dominant car here. The 4.2 naturally aspirated flat 6. Hold that thought as we have some battling right now. This is Steven Tomazic in the number 343, getting held up by Quick and Turner. Bronson Turner is, well, or should I say, Kelton Quick is not looking particularly quick. The Ford Mustang GT3 driver just got swamped by Turner, and now looking like Steven wants to do the same. Are we going to see it on to the Bishops, or on towards the back straight now? Through the Flying Fortress Bend, or Bishop Bend, my goodness, I cannot get the quarter names right on this track, and on to the Ullman. Are we going to see the dive bomb down into Sunset? I think not. It's going to be a setup chance here for Steven. That Ford is so extremely fast in a straight line. There's not much you can do in the Mustang. Similar sentiment. That's way offline for the Ford, though, and Tomazic is going to take that with open arms and not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. They run side by side down the start-finish straight, but they should be advantage for Tomazic. Into the braking zone. Is he far enough along ahead? No, it looks like the number 2 going to commit. The switcheroo, though, for Tomazic? No. Quick defends the ground. It wasn't enough of a run. I thought Steven was far enough ahead at the braking zone, but it seems that Ford just ekes the advantage out using the inside line. Up at the front, the gap still, as it was in qualifying, about 1 second, give or take. Soto not giving up, but also not wanting to throw it away. This is Sean Roberts in that number 6 there, trying to work his way down through Joshua Willis. That was, of course, that pass that happened earlier, and Josh not going to be letting him back by. Incident for Mark Lewerk? No. Or Mark Lewerk. My apologies, Mark. I think I've been saying that wrong. I'm trying to see here if he did end up down the order. It looks like there was a potential incident there. No, just caught up in 10th right now with Sebring Cook behind. So we get to see a nice little dice up here, potentially. The real-life Porsche driver trying to translate her skills into the sim here. She's already made 3 overtakes, making a 4th one here. Probably not going to be the most difficult thing on the planet, but anything can happen in racing, and it normally does. Through we go into the final sector now, and on towards the Ullman straight. A little too far back for my liking, and the Porsche, of course, not necessarily known for its straight line speed. It's more known for its punchiness out of a corner, taking advantage of the oodles amount of torque that it has, about 480 no, excuse me, that is nothing compared to it's 465 Newton meters of torque for the GT3R, which is just about enough to tenderize an elephant if you're not too careful with your right foot. But thankfully, Cook, she has it well under control. So does Steven Tomazic here in that AMG, but look at that, Sebring Cook in the background, wanting to join this conversation sooner rather than later. Up ahead, Lurik, Tomazic, Quick, all going to be potential victims ahead. A leader, Soto, fallen off a little bit. Seems like the gap isn't spread out another half a second since the last time that we did check on it, but keeping it fairly consistent. The yo-yo effect will, of course, play into the hands, and that was Cook getting by Quick. That's fun to say. Cook getting by Quick, and Quick, I think, dropping down the order due to maybe a little spinaroo. It seems that down into 12th, and you can see on that rejoin, it looks like they must have getting swamped in the background. The 95 trying to take the long way round. Do they make it stick? No. Holloway not able to get it done there, but gonna be frustrating for the Cavallina Rampanti, the lone 296 on the grid. And now to the outside, that's going to be Jacob Dick getting the move done, and on through we go into the middle sectors, and a nice little calculated send. I think he caught the Ferrari there sleeping at the wheel there. It was in through Cullingham Corner that actually happened, or Cunningham Corner into Collier Curve. Now into the tower turn and down the hill again through the Flying Fortress Straight. Not too many chances to make a move here. But as we get down to the Le Mans curve, this is where your setup begins. The best opportunities so far, looking like it's not going to happen, I think, is the gap a little too much. That Ford Mustang just too quick. But Cook, what do we have here? Sabre to the outside, to the inside, going for a little bit of a defensive, offensive move right now as we have Stringer in the background. Mark trying to get by, but not going to get let by any stretch of the imagination. And Lurik holding on as well here. So now really being a thorn in the side is going to be Lurik. And excuse me, it's Morgan Stringer. My apologies. I think I said Mark twice on that one. But Mark being the bottleneck right now, or the proverbial cork in the bottle, I should say. Sabre Cook needing to get by, and Morgan Stringer fighting for the lead of the female category right now. So this is a absolutely crucial battle, actually, that we're watching unfold. Currently, for battle for 10th is the battle for the lead, but this is going to change, of course, as it seems like this Mustang McLaren, holy, this McLaren is a real nuisance right now, and as soon as they can dispatch of the problem, they'll be flying up the road into the next, Steven Tomazic being the next problem. But I think for right now, Stringer and Cook just need to work together, as much as they would hate to say it. Telling two racing drivers to work together can be futile at the best of times, and here goes Cook to the inside of the final, or of the top of the hill, and no, it's overcooked by Cook. Lurik crashed out there, and hopefully he can get back going here soon. Now, actually, I'm just catching the replay on my other monitor, and I'm going to go and say that Cook did not overcook it. That will certainly be one for the stewards. However, was racing room left? That I do not know. I just caught a second glimpse of that one, and I don't think there was. I think that Cook had the inside line, was entitled to the space, and that was maybe Stringer, or excuse me, that was Lurik closing the gap maybe a little too aggressively. I am not a steward, and I don't envy their job, and they will be taking that one, no doubt. However, one thing that I do love is talking about some great racecraft, and what we're about to see right now is exactly that. Cook having to go defensive for the lead right now. Morgan to the outside, trying to capitalize on a mistake. The Porsche's a little bit deep here. Are we going to see the potential run here on it as we go down towards the braking zone now? Morgan, what do we have? Not enough. That's what it seems. Cook able to hold on as he is going to keep on the charge. Quick in the background now. was falling off, or did fall off there earlier on after that mistake, of course, that we saw. But now into the back, which is going to show that Cook right now might be overdriving her car and losing time as a result. Let's take a look at lap times. Last time around the track, a 2:04.5. Now you compare that to Steven Tomasik, had a 2:03.3. I think I was correct. Sebring Cook needs to dial it back just a little bit right now, but that's easier said than done when you have a McLaren knocking on the door. And Rackus Racing, Cook got more cooked than a well-done steak. That one I'm definitely not going to be adding into my notes if I ever see that again. You never know. No, thank you for that. Steven Tomasik here. He's got a little bit of no man's land. Look at that. Gap to the back, about 4 seconds. Gap to the front, yeah, about 4 seconds. So really nothing to worry about right now for the man from New Jersey. And just trying to hold on to the ground that he can and make some up a little bit later. We're only 15 minutes in, pretty much, 14 and counting into this 1.5 hour race. Still one pit stop left to go. And plenty of time for mistakes. Willis has now gotten behind Roberts, so we've had a little change in order at some point in time. Sean Roberts drifting through the final corner. I don't think he got the memo. The drift event's not until April 20th for Screen to Speed. A little preliminary on that one, and going for a big slide into Sector 3. Manages to catch the car, though. A brilliant little save there from Sean Roberts, and a catch and a half. He stays on the back of Josh Willis, but Josh gains that position for free. So another little trade right there. That is not going to help the tires for Sean Roberts. That's going to be, of course, the long-term goal right now, is to hold on to as much rubber as you possibly can. The man in the background there, by the way, who I haven't mentioned too much, is Bronson Turner, who is flying currently, a 2:02.6 on the previous lap. He is quicker than both of the drivers ahead with 2:03.9 and a 2:03.5. So both Willis and Roberts either giving a little too much, or at this stage not giving it enough. And we see the 333 have a little look. That was, I think, just a scare from Willis, or from Roberts, just trying to keep Willis's head on a swivel. But you got to wake up pretty early in the morning if you want to catch Josh out like that. Andrew Jackson through into the middle sectors as well, and currently rocking that number 97 car. He has ahead of him the Jace Wright. I was going to say, I haven't talked about him in a while. Jace Wright, he had a great start to this race, but since then, it seems like he's fallen off the back of our leaders by about 5 seconds, and now Andrew Jackson is in the running for the bottom step of the podium. One of my biggest gripes about Jace Wright, at least in the past, I haven't seen Jace drive in a couple months now, so I'm assuming this is something that's changed a bit, but it was his consistency. That was always something that, in my opinion, Jace struggled with, and I'm hoping that he can keep it under wraps tonight and really dial it in. This is an important race for him, and this would bring him a lot of confidence here with a podium finish. Jackson, though, wants to change that, and in that Acura NSX or Honda NSX, depending where you're from, again, how long is it going to be till we see the swaparoo? Or is it going to be a mistake from Jackson that then maybe lets Jace Wright off the hook for a while? Well, we're going to have to find out. As of right now, it looks like Jackson is quicker, and Jace Wright, well, he's going to have a hard time. What's just happened to Sean Roberts is he has just lost the position to Bronson Turner, the 333. Things still running in that pack. In fact, I'd love to. We should actually probably go take a look. It looks like they're running quite closely right now for 6th position. Josh Willis, as well as Bronson Turner and Sean Roberts, that three-way little bout that we were looking at. Bronson gets by Roberts, to my surprise. I was expecting the Roberts and Willis show for a while, and I was expecting Bronson Turner to just sit in the background and really enjoy the view. But no, it's changed. Now, Bronson Turner ahead of Roberts. And with that, Steven Tomasik is going to be gaining, I think, slowly but surely to the back of them. The lap times are not in their favor, and Steven, he's 5 seconds away. He's got a little bit of work to do, but we'll see. It'll be a process for Steven. I should maybe gave him a little credit there a little too early. But Sean Roberts, Bronson Turner, and Josh Willis, the thing is, if they keep up what they're keeping up right now, which is unnecessary scrapping. They're wasting a lot of time. That P5 position is hotly contended. And for that matter, look in the background. It looks like Sebring Cook also in that hotly contended position as she is under threat from Morgan Stringer, as well as Kelton Quick, Jacob Dick behind, and Alex Jones as well. All running pretty much line and stern. It's a four-way fight right now. 4P9. Holy, that is quite the fight. If we could definitely take a look there, that would be great. And seeing the 2.5 tenths separating all four. Steven right now, he's going to be trying to look in his rear wing mirror, but he's just a little too out of shot to get there. That's beautiful deja vu. Big warm welcome as well. Just want to say one more time, as we are about 20 minutes into this race, a big warm welcome to everybody joining us here tonight in this stream. Whoa, hold that thought. Drama afoot? Maybe. I saw some gravel kicked up there from what looked like Andrew Jackson. Josh Willis, now 1.5 seconds off the back of Jackson. How the tables have turned. Jace Wright, he gets a bit of breathing room now. 5 seconds to the gap of Jackson. Something has happened on this lap with Jackson. He must have went deep into a curve, but whatever the heck has happened has resulted in this. Now a 5-way battle for fourth. Josh Willis is going to be sweating like a cow in a burger joint as he negotiates on by. That is Jackson, believe it or not, the number 92. No, it's not. Wait, no, it's not. That's Paige Kaufman. Oh, that's a back marker getting involved here. So having to move out of the way and doing a good job of it. A lockup, though, from the McLaren. That was Bronson Turner having a little bit of strife there. This is Paige Kaufman down in 18th, but Bronson almost made that mistake into the back of Josh Willis. Sean Roberts just waiting now. He has the best seat in the house for this fight. I honestly favor Sean's position right now. Whoever's sitting in that third place spot, preliminary third place in this fight, I should say, whoever's sitting in the overall 7th place spot is in the best position, in my opinion, to gain over these two drivers. Josh and Bronson, or whoever, if it's going to be Sean and Josh, whoever it's going to be, I expect the two front runners to come together at some point in time, and then the back runner to just sail on by. That's the nature of racing. Is it going to be now? It's an aggressive-looking McLaren into the braking zone, but no, the 81 is just making him think, making him debate and contemplate. Do I want to go for the defense now and then maybe waste my run? Josh, not going to fall for that. Turner, going for the run to the outside now. Is he going to switch it up to the inside at some point? No, he will just elect to defend that position from behind and hold on to the one that he's running in. This battle, though, I don't know who to pick out of these three, because they all look like they want the position and they all want it now. It's like that certain cash commercial. I want my... What is it? What is the commercial? The gender? I don't know. Anyways, before I get us canceled with free advertising, we will have the battle here as they continue the fight on. And keeping an eye, I wanted to take a look back at that Sebring Cook battle, because right now, for P9, Sabre is holding on by a hair thread in the background. That's Kelton Quick making a move on to Morgan Stinger. He's going to be able to defend, and Kelton not able to get by. Who's that in the background? That's Jacob Dick joining us as well. He's in third, back in 12th. He was, I think, 4 or 5 seconds back to Kelton at one point. And this has been such a long battle, so much delay, I suppose, has been happening as a result of it. Kelton has now been caught up. So Quick, not looking too quick right now, unfortunately. What did I just miss? Bronson Turner, Josh Willis side by side as well. Of course, as soon as I take my eye, as soon as we change battles, immediately we have the fight ensue. Side by side, the seesaw of corners, and it's going to be Bronson Turner getting by, and look at that. Sean Roberts sneaks in. Josh Willis gets the 2-for-1 special, but unfortunately, it was the 2-for-1 in the wrong way. He gets his change taken out of his pocket. Does he fight back, though? Into the penultimate final corner. We see the 333 trying to take the long way around, but this is going to compromise his run and allow Josh Willis to the inside onto the start-finish straight. Now side-by-side run. The Ford Mustang will have the inside when they get to the braking zone, and he should have the faster car in a straight line, but Josh makes a dive to the inside, makes him think about it. It wasn't committed, but that's going to be Andrew Jackson spinning, and he returns back to the pit lane. An unforced error for Jackson. There is a position for free in what was now, or what was before, a battle for 5th has now turned into a battle for 4th, and the podium gets one step closer. Any mistake from any one of the drivers ahead will put any one of these 3 into contention for the top 3. This is what we're looking at for the Team USA. We're looking for the consistency. We're looking for the talent and who can handle the pressure over the long run. And right now, these 3 drivers are displaying it brilliantly. Jordan Johnson, though, of course, displaying his pure raw pace and talent as well up at the front. 5-second gap to Russell Soto. Russell Soto, about a 5-second gap over Jace Wright, and Jace Wright about a 10-second gap to these drivers right now. All that battling certainly not going to be helping anyone in this pack, but it is making it quite entertaining for us. That is for sure. Backmarkers have played a role slightly. I'm curious if we have any more real backmarker incidents. Paige Kaufman and Andrew Jackson are the only ones. I think Andrew Jackson actually back into the pit lane after that spin, of course. So hopefully he returns back to circuit. We would love to see him back out on track and finish. And of course, the best result that you can muster, that's also playing a role in Team USA, of course, is where it's down to how well you can recover, right? So we see them end up having a spin. How do you contend? How do you keep your head on your shoulders when you're dealing with troubles? Because that's the thing about racing, right? Nobody is ever going to have a perfect race. And if you do, it's not going to happen every single time. And bad races happen. How do you recover from it? How do you cope? How do you contend? And I'd love to see Andrew Jackson back out on track with his best shoulder on his head and try, or best head on his shoulders, best shoulder on his head. You can quote that one from me. And hopefully he has a nice time out there. Big shout out to everyone joining us in the chat as well. I see we got the Racer Girl Sunny joining us. We got Rekkas. I love that. Thank you for quoting us. As well as the Lion Mew Mew, as well as Rekkas. Thank you guys for all being here in the chat and cheering on your favorite drivers, as well as giving us support here on the stream. Of course, a big shout out as well to Garrett behind the scenes as he is running this broadcast. All of the special cams provided to you by him. So big shout out there, of course, to Full Sail University as well, because we have, I shouldn't just say it's just Garrett. My apologies, Garrett, or as I should say, my apologies to Rizzy, because we have a couple producers behind the scenes, and I thank you, or I thank them. Either way, back to the action, folks, because there's plenty of it, and it's all happening with, I think, down in P9 still. Kelton Quick and Sabre Cook, actually, I should say now it's happening for P8, because we've had a couple drivers drop down the orders. Sean Roberts still on the back of Bronson Turner, and he is not going anywhere. Bronson Turner dealing with more pressure than a submarine right now. And to be fair, a Ford Mustang GT3 is about the size as a nuclear-class submarine, so I would not surprise me to say that that's quite the literal statement as well. The Ford Mustang, quite the intimidator when you're looking at it in the rearview mirror, especially when you drive a McLaren. Back in my ACC days, I was a McLaren driver, and it's quite the low-running car. You're basically sitting on the floor, and when you have a car that is behind you that is the size of a house, it's intimidating when it doesn't leave. Oh my goodness, except it almost exited stage left and headed its way into the barrier. Sean Roberts, though, not going to be making that mistake anytime soon. The one thing, the Ford Mustang GT3, ever since its addition into not just iRacing, but of course ACC, the SRO calendar, the IMSA calendar, the WET calendar, it's been added into all sorts of different motor series, as well as the GT4 variant, which I think is newish now. It's hard to even call this car new. It's still new to me. It's been added like a year ago, but still new to me. But the Ford Mustang, that 5.0 liter Coyote DOHC V8, it is a powerhouse. 425 newton meters of, or excuse me, 425 foot-pounds of torque, 575 newton meters of torque, and coming in at about 1,300 kilograms or 2,800 pounds, which is pretty standard, and actually, all things considered, is pretty light, which is fascinating. And it's, I think I said 5.0, the 5.4 naturally aspirated. My apologies there, as I have to correct myself before somebody in chat corrects me. Rekus just drove the Jaguar, the Jag, and the Hyundai GT7 Manufacturer Cup. And they both for GT4 and GT3. That's awesome. The Jag, a little outdated. I've never driven the Hyundai before in GT7. I'm curious how that rolls. Of course, that's one thing we love, having various simulators. And over in the Init Discord, we can share various sims that we have as well. We have abilities, of course, iRacing, F1, ACC, loads of different simulators that you can go and share all of your wonderful moments in, and send some screenshots as well. That can be found, of course, over on the Init Discord. Sophie posted a link there a little earlier. We can get that as well. Yeah, right, because actually, yes. I have to actually myself before anyone does it for me. Now, let's talk racing a little bit more here, as I've derailed the train, and we got to get it back to the station. So let's get back on track here. About 30 minutes into this race. Holy smokes, time flies when you're having fun. This battle, currently happening on your screen, is between the Porsche of the 66, this is Jacob Dick, and Kelton Quick. This is actually a battle I didn't see coming. So as we are going to be joining these two, and with Morgan Stringer in the background, Morgan, he fell off there just a little bit. He was ahead of these two drivers at one point, but now sitting in the background in 11th and waiting for his moment to come back into the limelight. It's going to be Jacob just in that top 10. Kelton Quick, again, he's not quite looking as quick as he once was at the beginning of this race. His last time around, though, a 2:02.9. So, looking relatively fast compared to our leaders. A 2:01.3. Oh, okay. Yes, 2:01.3 was the previous lap. The best lap, Jordan Johnson, a 2:01.1, which, by my maths, would have been enough for, was that enough for pole position? Yes, that would have been enough for pole position in qualifying. That is incredible, to be completely honest. Wait, no, it wouldn't have. I did my maths wrong. This is why you don't trust commentators on their napkin math. 5/10 difference. Okay, whatever. He is 5/10 quicker in qualifying than he is in his race pace, which is crazy. Able to translate it over. That was the question I was asking at the top. Was Jordan able to bring it into race pace, and was Russell able to answer? I think we got it, or we have our answer. And Russell, he's quick. He's able to hold on for a while. But as the time went on, unfortunately, he slowly fell off and continues to, the gap extending ever more. Only by a little. 3/10 here, 2/10 there, maybe even lap times there. Maybe he gains a 10th even on a couple laps, but it's just not enough. Welcome to Nikki491 in the Twitch chat for joining us. Thank you for being here. Big warm welcome to everyone. Hope everyone's having a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. We're 30 minutes into this 1 hour and 30 minute race. 90 minutes was on the clock, and we're getting down to the halfway point. We would expect some pit stops not relatively soon, but within the next 20 minutes, we do expect a couple cars to be rolling down the lane. Within, I would say, 20 minutes to an hour, and 20 minutes to a half, 20 to 40 minutes is going to be, in my opinion, the sort of unofficial pit window that we'll see the drivers in. There is no pit window, and there is no required pit stop at the end of the day, so the drivers are free to lap as much as they want. The question being, do they have enough fuel to make it 90 minutes? By my calculations, some of the cars should have enough fuel to make it. In my opinion, tires are going to be the real problem, and is it worth it to take tires at a certain point? Of course, when you take tires, you're going to take fuel. Obviously, that's a no-brainer. You might as well run a lighter fuel load with newer tires. That way you can get more out of the car. You're able to have a little quicker lap times as a result. love to go on board for a lap with one of these cars as well. Maybe Sean Roberts, who gets a great view of the Ford Mustang, or one of the following drivers, just to see what it looks like as a following driver around here at the Sebring circuit. This track is tough, 3.7 miles, 5.9 kilometers, and it's everybody's favorite to race on, right? I say that only half jokingly. I love this track, believe it or not. It is very fun. Elevation of about 10 meters, or excuse me, 10 feet. My apologies, 3 meters. I overestimated that one by about 3 times. Yeah, it's a flat track. It was once Hendricks Army Airfield, which was used to train B-17 bomber crews during World War II. It's very bumpy still, as of course it literally does incorporate part of the runway into the circuit that is the famous back straight area, right before the Flying Fortress Straight. If you look on the map, the area on the right-hand side of the track, kind of hard to explain. Recus, this is their home track for them. So a Floridian native. One of the fun facts that I have here about Sebring is, of course, the fact that Sebring is an orange grove. Before it was a racetrack, this land used to be dedicated to an orange grove. So they still, believe it or not, have orange trees growing around the circuit. So if you head here on a nice sunny summer day, you can get to see the orange trees blooming here at Sebring. It's awesome. Very, very amazing circuit. This is a historical circuit. The first ever track, by the way, in America to host a 12-hour race, which was the most prestigious race at the time. That was back in 1952 as well. So it's got history. This track's been around for a moment, and it will continue to be so, and it will always, of course, be in our hearts as a true American circuit. Of course, Watkins Glen, not too far away in general. I mean, just up the road, about, 3,000 miles in American terms. That's just down the street. But no, it's up in New York, of course, and then all the tracks in the area. I guess Road Atlanta would be the closest to Sebring, more than likely, as in Brazelton, Georgia. Another great circuit. Just talking American racing tracks, as of course, we are here for Team USA in the American tracks. And up next, for anyone curious, we are going to be heading to Indy. So we get to head over to Indianapolis, up north, for the Indy 250 in the IndyCar specs here on iRacing. That's going to be May 3rd. And if that interests you, signups are available in at esports.com, in esports.gg/carsim. That's where you can find the links to the signups. And sign up for all Team USA events. Again, we have both open and women's categories, so we have a spot for absolutely everybody, and we encourage you to get involved, as well as all of your friends, family, and heck, why not your grandma as well? Well, she's family, I suppose, so at least I hope. But you know, you get the point. And Rekka says 2 days before my birthday. Happy very, very early birthday. So that's definitely a great little fact. But here we have back to the action. This is a delayed battle in the making. Sean Roberts, the reason I haven't really mentioned this just yet is I think Sean is very content right now with Bronson Turner. It seems like the 3 musketeers, in my opinion, are Josh Willis, Sean Roberts, and Bronson Turner. Those 3 sort of inseparable. I know I say that, and Josh Willis is separated from them, but he'll be back. He'll be back, folks. I guarantee it. Willis just sort of in his own rhythm. You can see just out of frame. He barely saw him in shot there in the background. There he is in that Acura NSX. So in a bit of a maintenance phase right now is more than likely where Josh's mind is. He's not too concerned about keeping that gap up to the tenths of seconds that it was, but he would like to get it back there at some point. A couple other battles happening, that Kelton Quick as well as Jacob Dick fight, as well as the Alex Jones and Jesse Lavorin down in P11. So those are the 2 battles currently happening on the track. And of course, once we have that pit stop phase, that's when everything's going to start to really wind back into the fighting. This right now is the pre-pit stops where everybody just sort of is in that survival mode. This is a low-key endurance race, and a 1 hour and a half is not necessarily one, it's not a long race, but it's not a short race either. So one to pay attention to when it comes to when are the leaders going to pit. And more than likely, your first takers are going to be that Josh Willis, Steven Tomasik, Sean Roberts, Bronson Turner. It's going to be one of them, more than likely. It's going to pull the trigger first, in my opinion. Our leaders, they don't really need to, all things considered. There's no need to pit when you're just going to get thrown back into traffic and then lose time. Soto could go for something, but I don't think it's worth it. It's 6.8 seconds and not really showing any signs of being quicker than Johnson, unfortunately. So he's more than likely going to just have to take what he can right now and run with it. And if any mistakes do happen to Johnson, he's going to be right there to pick up the scraps. Other things to keep an eye on here. Bronson Turner up 4 positions. And Steven Tomasik up 5 positions. Sabre Cook, though, cooking through the field. 6 positions gained so far. And currently lapping much quicker than Steven Tomasik. Last time around, about 0.6 different. So do expect that fight to come up here. The 17 and the 343 should be locking arms within the next couple laps, I would say. Maybe not in the next 2, but certainly in the next 4. Nikki showing her their love for Turner. You love to see some Bronson Turner love as well. Bronson struggling just a little bit, but has gotten it back under control. Currently, position-wise, Bronson, let's see, running in 4th, of course, as on our screen. What am I on about? So, doing a great job. 2:02.1 was the previous lap, and also, by the way, wow, fastest lap. So Bronson Turner has had a fire lit under his proverbial seat. It's not proverbial, it is his seat. A proverbial fire lit under his seat, maybe better English, but it's, do we have our first pit stop taker? I think we do. Josh Willis is in. Interesting. Josh. So that was my prediction in this pack. It was going to be one of those 3 drivers, either Josh, Sean, or Bronson. And it was Josh. He goes for that alternate strategy. 40 minutes into this race, so nearly at that halfway point, but not quite. He elects for the alternate strategy, the undercut. Is it going to work? Well, we'll have to wait and find out. I think yes. I think the undercut should be quite good here, assuming the drivers stay out for a while too. So the one difference here, of course, being with iRacing and ACC is the ability to run on lower fuel. So iRacing, you're actually going to be benefiting quite a lot from having lower fuel. In fact, looking at our leader right now, he's lapping a 2:01.7 compared to the 2:01.1. So he's only 0.6 slower. Now, of course, he's slower, but that's on old rubber while still getting faster, right? I know I'm not doing the best job of explaining it, I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, I'm really not doing the best job of explaining it. Let's just explain it in this way. So, of course, people have heard it in the term of graining, right? Everyone knows that term graining, but what is it actually? I think the best way for me to explain graining to somebody that maybe is not the most motorsport inclined is think about when you rub an eraser on a piece of paper and you get those little bits of rubber that are going to stick to it, right? It kind of, they ball up on the end and it sticks to the rubber end of the pencil, or the rubber end of the eraser. That is pretty much what's happening to these tires, not to an exact replica, but more or less. They're sliding around, they're letting rubber out onto the circuit, but whilst they're doing that, they're picking it back up. And that, of course, is going to cause you to slide around, slip and slide, as we see the back end of Johnson doing right in front of our eyes. But that little slide, not going to be anything to worry about. That's a slide on the limit right there. He is currently pushing, but not pushing too hard. Of course, as you get down in fuel, right? So the wear is one variable. Let's say your tires get wear, which means you're going to go slower over time. That's in theory. Now, in practice, of course, there are other variables. You have your fuel, and at the start of a race, you start on a full fuel tank, which means you're going to be at your heaviest. The car is going to want to understeer a lot more, and as you get down towards the end of your stint, which is more than likely going to be that 40 minutes, 45 minutes, your car is going to be going quicker because it has significantly less weight in fuel. It's a balance, it's a trade-off, but is it worth it to take those tires earlier as well as putting that fuel in? So Josh, well, yes, he will in theory be quicker with the rubber. He's also going to have a full set of fuel, which means he has to contend with that understeer and deal with it. Now, last time around was a 2:10. That's, of course, his outlap, so not quite the most warranted in terms of lap times. We'll keep an eye on this lap and see exactly where that stands. Also, if these drivers here on our screen pull the trigger and elect to pit as well, do they call the strategy of Josh Willis? Because if they don't, then they're completely at risk, 100% at risk from losing the positions from that undercut. Now, Sean here, I think he should pit. I think all things considered here, he has a threat from behind in Josh Willis, and he has a threat ahead and a potential position to gain. If Bronson Turner pits, I think you still have to pit right now. You're going to probably be losing time to Josh, and they can't afford it. Josh, last time around, was a 2:49. Okay, so again, not the most warranted lap time. This lap is the one that will matter. This is the in lap was what I was counting at the previous time. A 2:10 sounded quick on an out lap, I won't lie. So 2:49 there being the out lap. A nice little reminder there in chat as well from Stream Elements. Head on over to the Discord, the Init Esports Discord channel. You can join it there by clicking that link and finding, of course, a great little community where we are going to be, of course, talking about some IRL motorsports. We also talk about the sim racing and have plenty of events as we have the Team USA Talent Scout event and, of course, coming up, the Screen to Speed races as well. We have the Screen to Speed at Snetterton on the 19th, and then Screen to Speed goes drifting on the 20th. I cannot wait for that one, and of course, that's going to be the all-women's or all-female category, of course, so signups available over on screentospeed.com. Check that out if that interests you, because, again, why wouldn't it? It's going to be awesome. I love me some drifting, and it's going to be fun. That's going to be with ESDA as well, so we're going to be partnered up with them, so big shout-out to them. Back to the action, though. Pit stops starting to happen. Alex Jones has come in. We also have what looks to be Lily Bowling in, I think. Yes, I think. Lewerk's in. We also have some potential fights happening here for 7th, coming underway very shortly. It's going to be Jacob Dick and Sabre Cook. Sabre is up 7 positions now. I think that's due to the fact that Lewis has pit. I think somebody has pit around her. That's gained her up to 7th. I think she's going to be in 8th when all is said and done. Or is she going to be in 8th sooner rather than later? That's the question. Jacob in the background now. Can he get on by? Sabre Cook in the Porsche 992 GT3R. What do we have left? Of course, she's very used to the rear engine nature of this car is Sabre. I mentioned it earlier, but the Porsche Carrera Cup North America driver. You can follow her over on Instagram at Sabre Cook. Definitely go and check it out. And now, here we go. Down into the braking zone of the final corner. No move to be had, but is this the switcheroo attempt for the 66? Get on the loud pedal early. Sabre's going to have to cover the inside now. Down the start-finish straight as there's a tremendous amount of momentum to be gained here. Dick onto the inside. Does he go for it, though? Discretion being the better part of valor. A little too much of a gap there. We've seen a couple sends from the background, and they haven't worked out just yet. It's such a tricky corner to get the move on into the first there of Sebring. It's a high-speed, high-commitment corner, and in order to get the move on, you need so much better of a run than your opponent. It is not even funny. Not to mention the fact, by the way, that this is Porsche on Porsche violence, which makes it even more difficult. This is equal machinery, which means the car is stronger at the same times and the car is weaker at the same times, meaning that it's all down to pace. This is what I love about GT3 racing, and personally my absolute favorite thing, and why I think GT3s are my favorite category in general, is how often do you get to see a Ford Mustang racing a Porsche, racing a Ferrari, racing a BMW, racing an AMG? The answer is really never. You get to see it in the GT3 categories, and that's about it. And of course, due to BOP, the balance of performance, that's what allows these cars to be so line and stern with each other, despite the fact that the Porsche here has a 4.2 liter naturally aspirated for a 6-cylinder engine, a flat 6, of course, the Porsche Classic, and the Ford Mustang GT3 has a gigantic naturally aspirated 5.3 liter Coyote engine. Now you transition over to, for example, the McLaren. Now all of a sudden you're dealing with a 720 brake horsepower. I think a 4.2 twin turbo. I'm doing this one off memory because this one apparently wasn't in my notes. And that is being the difference, of course, the BMW with the classic tried and true 3.0 inline 6. The point that I'm making here, by the way, why am I saying all these various numbers and engines? The point that I'm making is you don't get to see all of these makes, models, manufacturers, and different engine specs equal. You never get to see that. And even back in Formula One, when you had two different engine types, when you had the turbocharged versus the naturally aspirated, it still wasn't completely even. And seeing it be as even as it is in iRacing with the current balance of performance, it is truly amazing. I love it. And as Rek is pointing out in chat, it's even crazier, and some GT3s include a variety as well. So you have the VW Beetle. I'm not sure the VW Beetle is a spec GT3 car, but yes, absolutely. The Hyundai Genesis, as well as the prototype Mazda, and also, of course, the new Aston Martin, which has come out in real life, the Aston Martin Evo. The current one's the Evo, isn't it? It's the Evo. Is it an Evo 3? That doesn't make any sense. I don't think that's what it was called. But the new Aston Martin Evo, various Evos have already come out of it, so I'm not sure which generation, but so repping the new Aston Martin. I think that's the newest car to the GT3 grid, if I'm not mistaken, before somebody in chat inevitably corrects me, but I hope they do. And sim racing is awesome regardless of the platform. I wholeheartedly agree. Whether you have a controller, whether you have the most expensive Moza equipment on the planet, it does not matter. It's about having fun. That's what we're out here to do. Everybody out here on track is trying to do the same thing right now, which is A, qualify for Team USA. Yes, there is no denying that fact, but B, have a good time doing so. And right now, Jordan Johnson's having the best time doing so, but I think everybody is still going to have a smile on their face. It's been some great battles so far. It is the Evo 2, says Rakus. I think you're right, but I just didn't want to say that and then get actually, but now I'm getting actually because of my hesitation. So, you're danged if you do, danged if you don't, I guess is the best way to say it. Maybe I should have done my research rather than just spouting out random car facts. But one thing I do know about random car facts, and I don't know why I want to bring this up, considering there's only one Ferrari in the race, Lewis Holloway, who has just got by Lily Bowling. I'm not sure if Lily is in pit lane or not, but Lewis Holloway down a lap in the lone Cavallina Rampanti, the Ferrari 296, the prancing horse. One of my favorite cars on the track, and one of the reasons is because of the name. For anyone curious, the 296 is named because it has a 2.9 liter 6-cylinder engine. Yes, indeed, it's very original. I just love that fact. That it wasn't necessary, but I had to throw it out there. Either way, this is necessary. The action, the battles, what we're here for. And the Ford Mustang GT3, they're thinking about a move into the braking zone. That's going to be quickly thinking about when to get by, but not quite getting the opportunity to do so. As they keep on line and stern, this Porsche on Porsche fight is the one that interests me really the most out of anything, because currently Sabre Cook needs to either work together with James here, or get by him quicker than a quick thing in Quicksville, to be completely honest. This is a very poor situation for the number 17, and they need to deal with it quick sooner rather than later. Sabre Cook here. You can see they're slower in the parts that matter. Okay, let's rephrase. They're quicker in the parts that don't matter and slower in the bits where you can make an overtake, which is the worst combination of drive. It's the most frustrating as a racing driver because, of course, while these cars are even in their specs, that doesn't mean they're even on setup, and that's also that Ferrari that I was talking about spun around the wrong way and rejoining the circuit in a terrible manner. Oh my goodness. That was a close call for, I'm assuming that's Morgan Stringer, I think is who that is. Yes, I think that is Morgan Stringer, yeah. That we just saw almost have their life ended before their eyes. Yes, indeed. Morgan there, well, he's going to be coming into pit lane in the next few laps, more than likely. He's going to need a change of more than just tires. Certainly testing the structural fortitude of his racing trousers, no doubt. Into the lane, though, is Sabre Cook. This is brilliant. I think this is the best strategic call she should have made. in this race right now. She's currently leading in the female category, was getting held up by the fellow Porsche driver of Jacob Dick, decided to go into the lane and call the pit stop now. Brilliant little call there, and I think it's going to work out wonders, assuming their outlap is all it's made out to be. I wanted to update you as well on our first pit stop, Josh Willis. He is currently lapping in the 203s, which compared to Sean Roberts, which compared to Bronson Turner, which is where he was when they came into the lane, it's not enough. Bronson Turner, 202.1, and Sean Roberts, 202.2. I don't know what's happened to Josh Willis, but a 203.2 is not going to be enough to gain the ground, unfortunately. And the Georgia native here, well, going to be struggling to do so. This is almost his home circuit. He's, I've actually had the pleasure, this is really, I wasn't going to bring this fact up, but I guess I am now. Josh Willis is the only driver in this race that I actually know personally. I have met him in real life when I was down in Atlanta. So really cool to see him out there. Big shout out there to Josh. And seeing the cheers in chat, I also love to see that. The cheers for the girls out there. You love to see the love. And of course, if you are a female looking to get into sim racing yourself, or you're already well invested and looking to find a championship, we have the Screen to Speed movement, which provides a direct pathway, of course, for women to go from the sim to real life. And of course, a team to go along with it. We have the Screen to Speed Dream Team that we also have with Betsky Visser. We have Sophie on there. We also have, of course, going off memory, Nina Hahn, and a couple others, Sarah Dove, and Esmeralda Bustamante as well. So those are the Screen to Speed Dream Team drivers, and of course, that is something that you could also potentially be a part of if you are interested. So again, sign up to those Screen to Speed events, get yourself noticed, and get out on track. Our next event is going to be at Snetterton on the 19th of April, and then after that, the 20th of April. So literally 2 days in a row, we have the Screen to Speed events. One of them, of course, being on a, well, quote-unquote real racetrack. The other one being a drifting race, which on Assetto Corsa in partnership with the ESDA. If that sounds spicy, if that sounds interesting, signups are available over on screentospeed.com. I'll post a link in the Twitch chat right now. You don't want to miss it. And actually, Screen to Speed as well, you can find a link in the description of our Twitch page. So that one is down below if you are interested. Now, we've had that pit stop from Cook. Jacob has responded. So Jacob went into the lane, and look at where we are. Sabre Cook ahead of the sister Porsche, or well, they're not really sisters now, as of course they are bitter rivals. They are only sisters by manufacturer. Jacob Dick now behind in 10th. Sabre Cook up in the 9th. A great strategic call. Kelton Quick is the next driver. It's going to be Cook and Quick once more, and we saw how that ended last time. Quickly with tears, believe it or not. That is pun intended. Into lane, Russell Soto, P2 has come in. Sean Roberts has taken over P2 now as Jace Wright is in on this lap as well. It's a solid call from both drivers. Jordan out one more lap. This won't matter too much. He could stay out another 3 laps if he really wants and not worry too much about time loss, considering that he is 0.2 slower than his fastest lap. Holy smokes. Jordan Johnson, 2:01.1 is his best lap. His previous lap, 2:01.1. 20 thousandths slower. What that tells me is that Jordan's going to come in this lap. I think that's more than likely. He is currently in the process of using every bit of rubber that tire has to offer, leaving it on the circuit for anyone to clean up afterwards because he does not care. Jordan probably going to come in either this lap or the next. We're getting down to that final half hour. So this is, of course, Jordan. If he does come in and he changes tires, he needs enough time for that to get up to temp. And that will leave Sean Roberts leading this race for more than likely a couple corners. I would expect Sean to come in. He can't expect to really stay out too long. And interestingly, as I'm actually getting in my ear right now, so Kelton Quick was behind Sabre Cook and Jacob, so actually has gotten ahead of them in the pit stop. I'm not sure how they've managed that. I'm trying to take here. Okay, let's take a look at stop times and see if that plays a role. I'm wondering if Quick didn't take tires. And I don't think they did. Okay, so looking at the stop times, the driver's around 30 seconds for so 26 seconds for Quick, 30 seconds for Cook, and Jacob with 36 seconds. So that also explained it. So this is down to different fuel loads. This is down to different tire strategies and also potentially missing a pit box. I wonder if Jacob went a little too deep into the lane and that's what cost him that extra 6 seconds and, well, extra 10 seconds over this Ford Mustang here on screen. Steven has made his stop as well. He's remained pretty much where he was in 6th position. Bronson Turner ahead. Jace Wright in 4th. The drivers that still need to pit right now being Sean Roberts, Jordan Johnson, and that is it. That is it. Just our top 2 right now need to come in for their stops, and they can do so pretty much whenever they like. Sean Roberts, not so actually. Sean Roberts needs to come in my opinion. Lap times 0.2 slower than the previous. Maybe he doesn't need to come in, but he might want to. If he's that quick on this type of rubber. What the heck? What just happened to Josh Willis? Was that incident points? Did he hit the wall on pit exit? I'm hearing in my ear. But did he return to the garage himself there? Because that looked like it almost... He did. Okay, so apparently he hit the wall and with a return to the garage out of frustration. Oh, no. I think there is one fast repair on for this session, but a return to the garage is going to be a penalty in itself. And so having the crash in the final corner, missing the pit lane, you absolutely hate to see that. Josh, hearts out to you, brother, and hopefully you get back out in the race and on track and not too many laps down, but a disappointing one. Completely unforced, and unfortunately he has left the session. You know, it's down to, like I say, what I was saying before. It's not about how you start, it's about how you finish, and especially, you know, when there's so many Team USA events here, you really didn't hit the wall. I'm just hungry. All right. Fair enough from Josh. Fair enough. Just a retirement. So no incident is retiring. But either way, still continuing the racing on circuit now is going to be Jacob and Cook, I should say. Back in the background there is Stringer. So battle on for 10th. Our leader, though, Johnson, has disappeared. Oh, and we have some fans in chat now for Jericho. Wait, hold on. Oh, 3 cheers for Turner. I see. We have some fans for Turner. I was saying, I don't recognize that name. Mr. Bronson Turner, running in 5th position, getting some love shown. You love to see that. And Bronson's day just got a little bit easier with the disappearing of Josh. Able to run in 5th now with not too much worry of anyone behind. Just ahead, Sean Roberts, about 3 seconds, give or take. So the battle potentially on here, but it'll be a little bit before we get there. Best lap, last time around, Jordan Johnson, a 2:07? Did he come into pit lane? No, he didn't. He did. Yes, he did. He came into pit lane. Must have just gone for a... No, that's of course because of the way that iRacing does their pit stops. This is me not being familiar with iRacing enough. This is my... yes, he has taken his pit stop. I'm reading the times wrong. That's what's happening. Russell Soto has also made their stop, so everybody is done with their one not mandatory stop for the night, but one scheduled stop, and will be green flag running for the next 30 minutes or so. 29 minutes and counting on the clock for the Sebring 90, the Team USA Talent Scout event. Blue flags being waved right now for our Ferrari, the lone Ferrari driver on circuit, and with Sean Roberts steaming into the rearview mirror of Lewis Holloway. I expect this position to change very, very quick. Sean going to be getting a bit frustrated, all things considered, as this is GT racing. A flash of the headlights there from Sean Roberts saying, I'm coming by whether you like it or not. And thankfully we see both drivers of blue flags pulling over. That's also Mark Lewis pulling, or Paige Kaufman. I think that's Paige Kaufman, actually, was pulling over there. And Paige, unfortunately, has a black flag due to incident limits, so that will be a drive-through penalty. 1 mandatory stop down pit lane for Paige, and hopefully the California native here can keep it back, or keep her head up and get back out on circuit with a nice smile. Through the lane and back out, no issues to be found. Alex Jones in 11th right now. We also see some love in chat for Lewis. So currently, Lewis here with a lot of work to do. Lewis Holloway down in 14th position. Was a bad start. We'll just put it as it is. And it wasn't the greatest mid-race either. He's so far just had to kind of hold on to the race that he had. He's up 1 position, which is nothing to shake a stick at, of course. But still out there doing what he can and plucking away. And I love to see the fact, again, that he's just going for the checkered flag. And that is a win in itself, of course, for some of these drivers. I know, for example, Lewis was new to sim racing, literally new to sim racing. So seeing him out there on track and giving it all he possibly can in the hopes, of course, of joining that Team USA, big prospect for the future. Just got to keep his head up, get out there and practice more. That's what you want to see. Lewis Holloway, I'm sure he's going to be looking to join some leagues here soon, get out on track and have some more fun. But he does have that C-class license, which makes me think that he lied in his... Wait, that's Holloway. Wait, yeah. I don't know. Either way. I don't know. I'm not an iRacing aficionado. I might not be the one to call that, but I still love to see the love. And I love to see the finish. And through, so it is, of course, he is relatively new, yes. So seeing the prospects, the new prospects out there is always welcome. And if you, of course, are new to sim racing and wanting to get out on track, signups are available for the Indy race coming up. You don't want to miss it. Show that you are, of course, a lovely contender for Team USA in the Olympics in 2020, the Esports Olympics in 2027. Right now, looking at the real-life racing driver of Sebring Cook, currently running in 8th position. It's been a heck of a day for her. She's gained 6 positions so far, which is tied for the biggest gainer on track, as well as Steven Tomazic. So per category, Sebring Cook leading in the women's category and leading in the positions gained for that. And Steven Tomazic currently running in 6th in the overall and 6 positions gained for his efforts. Seeing as well, lock in for Stu. Currently, Stu, where is Stu? Where is Stu? That is a great question. We don't have a Stu. I'm not sure who you mean. Oh, Lou. I'm dyslexic. Oh, goodness. Lou. Lock in Lou is what I was reading. Lewis Holloway, and I think I already read that. So, seeing the Lewis fans, I'm also a Lewis fan. Maybe not Lewis Holloway in particular, but, you know, other Lewises, of course. Let us know who you are fans of in chat. As of course, yeah, a fan of Ferrari, maybe, and wink, wink, nudge, nudge, no. Either way, Johnson leading the overall right now with Soto behind. Jace Wright currently running in 3rd. 4th place, Sean Roberts, Bronson Turner in 5th, Steven Tomazic in 6th. We have Kelton Quick in 7th, Sebring Cook in 8th, or in 1st position for the women's category. Jacob Dick in 9th, Morgan Stringer in 10th, Alex Jones in 11th, Jesse Lavorin in 12th, Lily Bowling in 13th, Lewis Holloway in 14th, Paige Kaufman 15th, Mark Lewis in 16th, Josh Willis with a DNF, and Andrew Jackson with a DNF as well. And we also, I think, have another fastest lap being set. Jordan Johnson, by the way, my goodness, he's making himself to be known quite the intimidator, quite the presence on track, quite the quick man out there. Just set a 2 minutes .435. At this rate, he might actually beat his qualifying lap, which would be insane, to put it lightly. He is the fastest in Sector 1. He is also the fastest in Sector 2. He is not, I don't think, though, the fastest in Sector 3. Believe it or not. No, wait, hold on. Checking. No, he is. Just by a little, though. Sector 3 is where he's weakest. Not to say that he's weak anywhere. But flying around, we also are seeing the Team CXC. Love to see that, of course. The love being sent for Camber and Caster. Wow, voice crack. Good to see all the Turner fans out. Yes, indeed. And it's rough being a Red Bull fan. Hey, we love all fans out here. It does not matter. No biases. I'm a Williams fan. Of course, no biases there myself at all either for anyone that knows me. So, no. Good. I love to see the support again. We're here for racing, folks. The one thing I love to say as well, when it comes to racing, you know, there is no better feeling on this planet than driving side by side with somebody, putting your utmost faith in them, and them putting their utmost faith in you. And then it working out, you know, having that little battle. And it doesn't matter whether you come out on top or you come out on the bottom. As long as you don't go into the barrier, then it feels like motor racing. And that is the truest high that I think anybody could ever feel. It's amazing. I love side-by-side racing, and I would recommend if anybody hasn't gotten behind the wheel of a sim or behind the wheel of a go-kart or even the wheel, like I say, even just driving it on a controller, get out there, give it a shot. There are so many of the older simulators that are discounted these days. You can pick them up for cheap and go and have fun. It doesn't matter if you're driving it on, like I said, the top-of-the-line Moza equipment or if you're driving it on a Xbox controller, PlayStation controller, or whatnot. It's down to having fun. And that's what we're all here for. Sharing the love, sharing the community. Go find yourself a nice community to be a part of as well, whether it's the Init community, whether it's another one out there as well. I know plenty of drivers from various communities. Of course, we have multiple from, I think, Trackalicious, SRA. We have a couple from a few others as well, LFM, and various other North American side of the water racing leagues. Go and look them up if you are interested. Definitely worth it, and definitely worth a try. Yes, indeed. I love it. Like I said, I caught the bug, for anyone curious, back in like 2019, I think it was what it was, because, of course, I got F1 2018 on sale back then, drove it on a controller, and then from there, the rest was history. Once COVID hit, of course, that's when I doubled down, tripled down, all the way down. Hold on. What am I seeing here? Jordan Johnson. Why is his name red on my screen all of a sudden? Oh, because he was up a lap on the person that we were looking at. That is why. Okay, understood. Apologies, pay no mind to the man behind the curtain as we are just figuring things out here sometimes. Whoops. Jordan Johnson, though, has driven a stellar race from the word go. It has been a dominant performance, and to be fair, he's looking hard to beat. So if you have the talent, if you have the muster out there, keep in mind this man is 8K I rating. You can see that 8.1K with an A-rated license. So he's been around the block, done a little bit of racing. Not quite in the 10K club, I guess. That's only a small handful of a percentage of the iRacing community actually is, but he is certainly not far away. Maybe this year. I'm curious. Following Jordan Johnson's career, this sounds like is one to keep an eye on for sure. Oh, here we go. This is a fun little comment as well from the little Mew Mew, or Meow Meow. My apologies on mispronunciation. Did the swap race a while back, and yeah, that of course being the Trackalicious community that put that on. I'm assuming in a real-life swap race where you actually get out of the sim and share with somebody that is inexperienced on it. It is, like I say, every community has something out there, and we all put on unique little things, and that is truly one of the most fun races to not just drive in, but to commentate on. It's I've had the pleasure a few times of being on that one. It is an absolute hoot to see people that maybe aren't the most well-versed behind the steering wheel try to drive at the limit. And, you know, having the passion, of course, that all of us have for sim racing and getting to share that with somebody that we care so much about that doesn't get to experience what we get to experience on a day-to-day basis, it's really welcoming. It opens the eyes up, and then you get to see new drivers getting sim equipment then, because all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, I had no idea that this was this fun. And it's like, yeah, there's a reason that we spend every waking minute behind the steering wheel and trying to improve. It's truly an incredible time. And again, I highly recommend anyone going out, looking at some of those other sims, and even iRacing in particular, of course, as it is, I don't think, on sale anymore. Uh-oh, what's happened to Lily Bowling? She is, well, we're not on Watkins Glen, but it looks like she's attempted to go bowling, but hasn't succeeded, thankfully. The 10 pin still standing. But definitely would recommend checking out the iRacing simulators. There is free content on it, and of course, it's a rabbit hole, iRacing, if you do get into it, but it's a great rabbit hole to be a part of, and a big shout out to them for being partners as well. So iRacing, a stellar performance, especially with the amount of updates that have come out recently and how much this simulator has improved and continues to improve. Of course, the most recent update that has come out, I think the most recent no, the one that just came out recently, didn't it? That had a bit of a physics change. But of course, the biggest physics change recently was the fact that people can bring gravel and grass back out onto the circuit as I, excuse me, have a brief sneeze. And through the, oh, we're good? Again, brief, that one hit me out of nowhere. Through the grass, so when drivers do go for an off-track excursion, they will re-bring the off-circuit onto the circuit. So if you go into the gravel, you bring some of that marbles back onto the circuit. You go into the grass, you bring that slippery, slidey turf back on with you, and that will cause strife for drivers as well as yourself. Your tires are modeled that way, so now that when they pick up that debris, they will continue to be so for the next few corners. You're going to be slipping and sliding around like a dog on a freshly finished hardwood floor. And you have to avoid that, especially at Sebring. Look at that. You see to the inside, you see to the outside. That's grass. You go too deep there, you're going to be having a bad time. But that's Sebring. This is why I love these punishing circuits. For example, you know, Silverstone, I often talk about. It's my favorite track. I love Silverstone with all of my heart. However, people, they bring up a point where they say, oh, there's no elevation. Oh, there's no grass or gravel on the runoff. It's all safe. It's such a safe track. And well, yes, that's true. It allows for great racing, but I also do love a circuit that has a bit of punishment. That's why I love my Brands Hatches as well. When you have the natural sort of punishment, you don't have to worry about the drivers cutting the track too often, right? They go for, especially on these modern day circuits where you put the limit so tight to the edge and they have to go right onto the limit or just over it. And the in-game stewards then have to play a role and, oh, I just got a drive-through penalty because I crossed the line too many times and yada, yada, yada. Well, a great solution to never have that happen is by putting grass on the outside of a track or gravel, which plays the same role as well. If you drive off there, well, now congratulations, you are going straight to a wall more than likely. So you know what that makes you a lot less likely to do? Push too hard in that corner. It's a natural boundary, a natural barrier for the drivers. When you have all that free runoff, there's no punishment. The drivers, they can go at their free will and, oh no, I just invalidated my lap. What am I going to do? It doesn't matter, really. As The Rock said, it doesn't matter. But it does. And especially when you have grass, when you have gravel, that makes it matter. So don't make The Rock unhappy, I guess is the general sentiment. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this one. Either way. Didn't think I'd be bringing up Dwayne Johnson in today's broadcast either, but here we are, folks. 15 minutes left to go in today's race. And what a race it's been. Started off as a bang-up show. What's happening to Jordan Johnson? What is happening to Jordan Johnson as we speak? He is currently in pit lane, retired. What is happening? Wait, what? Checking? Hopefully we can get a replay or anything. I don't know if we can get a replay on that. What the heck has just happened? Jordan Johnson is in. Russell Soto is now our race leader. Jordan Johnson is now out. Is he out? Is he still in the lobby? He's dropping. He's packet loss is what I'm hearing. No. Now, I do want to say one thing here. So it seems that we've had some internet failure of some shape or form here for our race leader, which is gutting. You absolutely hate to see it, unfortunately, and hopefully we can get that all sorted here very soon. But you can, unfortunately, see here that So we have the wrong scene, but there we go. As we get to a brief little behind the scenes there, break the fourth wall, but that's okay. It's gone. He's unfortunately gone. Now, I want to throw out something here as a little word of encouragement for Johnson, as of course I'm hoping he is watching this, Jordan Johnson. Well, actually, he doesn't have internet right now, so maybe I'm hoping he's watching this afterwards. But Jordan, if you are watching, don't let this was a heck of a performance, and the one thing about these Team USA Talent Scout events is it's an event. Every single one of them is an individual event. It's not a championship, and he's proven stuff regardless. He's proven something today. So I'd love to see Jordan back in the Indy 250, and if he can manage to deliver there, again, it's all about showing how good you are and showing the Team USA Talent Scouts what you're made of, and he did. You know, he more than likely was going to win this race. I don't think there's any debating that, barring a disconnect or barring a crash, which unfortunately the first one was the one that we ran into tonight. So again, I want to give Jordan there a little bit of a round of applause because he absolutely smashed this one. That was a grand slam performance all the way through and through. And while Russell Soto, let's not take away anything from the man that's on our screen right now, Russell Soto. He's driven an incredible race himself, and he absolutely deserves this race win just as much. But it is, again, down to the fact that it's over the course of these championships. So I would love to see him back a little bit later. I'm sure Johnson there gonna be kicking himself, but it's not his fault. There's nothing he could have done. I'd like to see him back. If he can rejoin the race and get back out on track, then he's, again, every bit even more talented in my books, because it takes a warrior to get knocked down like that and get back on the saddle, assuming he has the ability to. Let's just, again, preface that as assuming he can even rejoin the server. I'm hoping he can. Hopefully he gets back out there and gets back out on track and at least takes checkered flag. Love to see that. But Russell Soto leads, Jace Wright second, and now Sean Roberts on the bottom step of a podium. Mr. Consistent is what I would say for Sean Roberts. Bronson Turner behind him. This, though, is Kelton Quick, ahead of Sabre Cook and ahead of Jacob Dick. The two Porsches, you can't separate them. They are literally locked arms from the beginning here pretty much, and now it is Cook and Quick back at it again. Last time we saw this, it was arguable on who had what incident, but now we get to see who is quicker. What can Cook up? I don't know. Quick can cook. This is going to be a heck of a tongue twister as we continue on here. There's no doubt, but let's continue on. The Ford Mustang GT3 versus Sabre Cook, and Jacob still in the background here, just waiting for his moment. He's not going to go for anything too desperate because he doesn't want to force Sabre into something where they're going to lose time to the GT3. So Quick has to be quick, and exactly that, but more than that, they have to be consistent. Any wheel placed wrong right now, Sabre Cook is going to be absolutely feasting on the opportunity. So will Jacob Dick. Every single little mistake is going to add up here. And through the pace, Sabre Cook on the previous lap at 2:02.7 compared to the 2:02.7 of Kelton Quick. So I think Sabre is quicker overall. Just taking a look at the fastest laps here, a 2:02.2. Wow, enough twos there for Jacob. 2:02.5 for Sabre, and a 2:02.4 for Kelton. So Kelton theoretically, he's round into the barrier. There's no theory needed. He's facing the wrong direction, and that battle is over pretty much as it began. Kelton Quick, was that an unforced mistake? I didn't quite see it in the shot there, but I think that was completely unforced. I don't think there was any contact, and that leaves the two Porsches, well, as they were. A little pork on pork violence now for the end of the show. 10 minutes left, folks, and it's down to the wire. What does Sabre have left in the tank, and what does Jacob have as well? Great start here to the lap for Sabre. Is very far ahead, and going to keep that heading into the first sector. Try your best, especially down towards Bishop's Bend. You need to be far enough ahead there. But so far, Sabre seems to have every single answer to any question that Jacob Dick is going to pose. Also, thank you very much, Meow Meow. I'm not pronouncing that name that well. But thank you very much for the kind words, and thank you for being here as well and joining the chat. We really appreciate you. This is a lovely little fight, though. This is going to continue on for a while, and what this also is going to do is basically guarantee Steven Tomazic a P5 here. He is the biggest gainer. No, he's not. I lied. He is not the biggest gainer of the day. He is up 7 positions, though, which is an incredible effort for up to P5. Started back in 12th, managed to run 5th here for a good while. He's been in no man's land the whole time. Well, not the whole time, but a good majority of the past hour has been all on his lonesome. He hasn't put a foot wrong, and he hasn't really gone over the top either. It's been a very consistent and well-rounded drive from Steven Tomazic, so displaying true, I guess, yeah, well-rounded driving. I don't know how else to put it. I don't think I have a better description for it. And he's going to keep pulling away as a result of the two fighting in the background. That Ferrari is not for position, and it also is not fully showroom ready. I don't think the Ferrari bosses would be too thrilled with putting that one up, but a couple mallets and some sledgehammer hits. Yeah, that thing will be good as new in no time, right? Oh, goodness, I actually thought I just cursed him into the barrier again. Thankfully, I didn't. Tomazic in 5th. The battle, though, for Cook and Jacob. Continuing on, but not really as much as we would think. It seems to be Sabre with the advantage. I think almost undoubtedly, I would say at this point. It's going to be down to a mistake, I would have to say. And Morgan Stringer has kept themselves in this, but only just. They are about 3 seconds, give or take, back. So just enough here if those two do, or if either one of them has a mistake, then immediately we'll be seeing here the morsels getting picked up by Morgan Stringer and able to gain a position for free potentially, but it's going to take a bit of luck at this point if you are Morgan Stringer, I would say, because right now the lap times are not necessarily favoring him, but they're not really not in his favor either. He needs to find some pace if he wants to catch up, because he's running about even with the cars in front, and, well, even is not good enough to catch. I guess I probably didn't need to say that. Bronson Turner, also running in no man's land. He is, by the true definition, in absolute the void right now. There is nobody within even, I was going to say touching distance. There's nobody even within shouting distance of him. You could get a megaphone and nobody is going to be heard. Bronson Turner with a 34-second gap to the front and a 54-second gap to the back. He's probably finishing in 4th. I'm just going out on a limb, barring any disconnects or major calamities or kerfuffles or whatever you want to call it. Bronson Turner is absolutely going to be finishing here in 4th position. And what a showing it's been. I know we have some Bronson Turner fans in the chat for the Stooch Racing driver here. Assuming he's still part of that team. I don't know if he is or not. I'm just, again, making the assumption there. And so showing some love for Bronson. Steven Tomazic behind, as I said before. He's going to be finishing there more than likely as well. But the Sabre Cook fight, look at this. We're back. What does Jacob have? Does he have enough? In fact, well, he's going to be asking for it here. Down we go on towards the back, or the start-finish straight now. The McLaren in the background, not sure who that is, but down to the inside, the 66 is going to pull the trigger. Sabre goes wide now, has to cut it back to the inside, but it looks like it's too far gone. The 17 trying to carry the momentum through the first sector, and as they get into turn 2, well, Jacob Dick up a position into 6th. Sabre Cook almost caught sleeping at the wheel, drove the regular racing line, and that was not good enough. That is now Sabre down into 7th, still up 7 positions, but tied now for the biggest gainer. Morgan Stringer in the background, but that is not that McLaren immediately. Who is that? Is that Lily? Is that Lily Bowling? I think it is. It's hard to see. I think that's Lily Bowling or that's Jordan Johnson, one of the two. It is Lily Bowling. Yeah, wow, okay. So Lily Bowling has seemingly pulled this pace out of a hat and is flying around the circuit right now. They're not on the lead lap, as you can... Wait, no, they are on the lead lap. No, they're not on the lead lap. What am I talking about? They're that... Anyways, Lily Bowling getting lapped by the cars not too long ago, but she might be posing to unlap. All right. I'll just eat my words. Never mind. Sorry, Lily. Can call that one a commentator's curse on me. Hashtag blame Mike. My bad. Well, Lily Bowling, not going to be unlapping herself anytime soon. Ouch. That hurt. Back to the fight. Lily, Sebring Cook, Jacob Dick at each other's throats, continuing this fight along, and this will go down to the line as well, still with 3 minutes left to go here. It's anyone's race, and it's anyone's, I think, mistake at this point. It could be down to either one of them right now, as Sebring has fallen off when it comes to pace, seemingly the last time around, slightly slower by about 0.2 of a second. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot. In racing terms, it kind of is, but in reality, for anyone curious, 0.2 of a second is the human blink of an eye. So if you blink your eye right now, that just took about 2 to 2.5 of a second. And also, whilst you blink, the heart of the America's smallest mammal, the pygmy shrew, its heart also beat about 5 times in that 0.2 frame. So that just goes to show you how tight racing truly is. So when we start getting down to these margins of tenths and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of seconds, you start to realize how almost inconceivable they are, and inconceivable as well from anyone that's a Princess Bride fan. Great movie, by the way. More fun facts to come, of course. And I also, in fact, this is one that I never got out during this race, but I have to, as it's, of course, the trademark True Lab. We only got 2 minutes left here, but we, of course, one of the fun fact, the trademarks that I have is how many bird species happen to be in the area here of Florida. And I'm glad that nobody asked, because I don't have a color commentator to remind me on this one, but I'm going to ask you, chat, and I'm going to answer either way. So, in case you were curious on how many bird species there are around the area here of Sebring, Florida, you can expect to find somewhere around 156 of them. Now, I'm going to be honest, that feels a bit low to me. I think for the most part, there's probably got to be a few more. I mean, it's down in Florida. There's migratory species. It's very warm down there. You can expect a lot of blue-winged warblers, some black-throated green warblers, and some owls, various there's tons of stuff that you can find down in Florida. Jays to whatever, honestly. Coots, and everything in between, pretty much. So when it comes to the birds, the aviofauna inclined, as well as the motorsports inclined, you can look forward to Florida. A great little spot to find some bird spotting species. Now, what I am spotting right now is our race leader, and we are getting down here to the wire. Are we going to have one more lap? Where are we? No, we're not going to have one more lap. This is going to be the final lap, folks. Russell Soto, despite dramas, he is going to be winning this one. Google says over 500. I believe that. I was going to say, ChatGPT, I'm calling cap on that one. Either way, this is Russell Soto heading around the final corner for round 1 of the Team USA Talent Scout race. The number 50 AMG straightens it out and takes the checkered flag and the victory for round 1 at Sebring. Take a bow, Russell Soto. Behind him, Jace Wright in third. Jace Wright in second. Sean Roberts taking home third position. Bronson Turner down in fourth. Fifth place belonging to Stephen Tomazic. Jacob Dick in sixth, ahead of Sebring Cook, who takes the victory for the female category. Morgan Stinger down in eighth. Kelton Quick in ninth. Jesse Loverin in 10th, Alex Jones in 11th, Lewis Holloway in 12th, Lily Bowling in 13th, Paige Kaufman 14th, 15th to Mark Lewis, and our DNFs, Jordan Johnson, Joshua Willis, and Andrew Jackson. And of course, our condolences to Jordan Johnson. Hopefully, we see him back in the next races, because he did display a true amount of talent, and again, didn't win the race tonight technically, but certainly was looking like he might have. But Russell Soto is the one to take the gold and the victory when all is said and done. We'll be hearing from these drivers very shortly, as well as, of course, they have to round up, maybe get a little sip of champagne before they head on over to the podium box, and hopefully we will get a nice word with our drivers. And get to hear a little bit of what it was like for them. Of course, I'm very curious to hear Sean Roberts' perspective as well as Jace Wright's. I don't want to say it was a boring performance from Soto, but it certainly wasn't the most difficult race of Russell Soto's life. He had it pretty much under control from the word go, minus, of course, with Jordan, but all things considered, a well-deserved victory. And a stellar performance, as Juan Fan is saying in chat. Thank you guys very much for the kind words as well, of course. Thank you guys for enjoying this event. It's been an absolute corker. And a big result for Russell Soto, really making his name known here. And we'll see, of course, the 3.1 I-rating driver ahead of Jace Wright. You love to see, of course, the I-rating. It doesn't mean much at the end of the day. It's a number. It's a technical ranking. But when it comes down to it, pace alone, I think Russell Soto displayed a tremendous amount, despite the fact that Johnson may have been quicker. He was only, I think, 8 or 9 seconds behind by the time that disconnect had happened, which I expected it to fall off much quicker than it did, but it didn't. The gap held on significantly longer, and there we can see as well our female category winner on screen, Sabri Cook, as well as, of course, the real-life Porsche racing driver. So taking her skills from the Porsche Carrera Cup North America and translating it onto track. I hope we get to hear a word with her as well. That would be brilliant if we do get to do so, as of course she did take the victory in the women's category in 7th place overall, and really making her name known here. If she had a better qualifying, it could have been so much more, but a brilliant result nonetheless. And a big shout out there to the Camber and Caster team as well from chat. We love to see that. Thank you guys so much for participating here in these in this race, and also, of course, in the races to come. Camber X Caster. Yes, my apologies. Camber X Caster. Or is it Camber and Camber X? Either way. We thank you, Camber Caster, and everything in between. Speaking of Camber and Caster, wanted to remind everybody that you get to play around with some camber on your tires and some caster as well when it comes to the drifting event that will be coming up for the screen to speed movement. It's going to be on April 20th. Expect high camber and expect a lot of smoke and an absolute corker. Again, that's going to be April 20th. We also have the Snetterton race coming up on the 19th. That's a day before the drifting event. So massive, massive events coming up for the Screen to Speed calendar and the Screen to Speed movement. And if that's something that interests you, head on over to the website. It's down in the description, down below in the Twitch, or screentospeed.com if you are watching over on eClutch, which a big shout out to you if you are. Now, folks, we are going to be gathering up our drivers here in a moment and getting to interview a couple of them. And, of course, we get to talk, hopefully, with our winners. I am very curious, again, to hear from Sean Roberts, as he had an absolute ding-dong battle from, well, not just one driver, but from pretty much anyone that was in the top 5. Of course, Josh Willis and him locking arms pretty early on, Bronson Turner as well, and Jace Wright getting involved early, but kind of taking away and checking out from that original or that opening kind of top 3 pack. So as we get them here into the lobby, it looks like we are going to be hearing from Sean Roberts probably first here, and we'll be getting him up very, very soon. So as we, of course, do, big little reminder to everybody as well. I mentioned the Screen to Speed events that are coming up, but I also want to mention the fact that this is one of many Team USA Talent Scout events. And if you head on over to init.gg/carsim, which I will post a link in the Twitch chat, you can find a link to our next race, as well as all of the subsequent races after that. The Indy 250 is up next. After that, the Watkins Glen 90, then Bristol, Road Atlanta, and Laguna Seca in December. Now I'm just getting word here, and I have caught up with the man himself, Mr. Sean Roberts. Let's see here if we have a copy with Sean. There we go. Sean, do we got a copy?
I got you loud and clear.
Oh, we have a copy. Wait, hold on. I have him muted. Hold on. Do we have a copy?
Check 1. Check 2.
Yes. There he is, Sean Roberts. Sean, my goodness, talk about drama in your race. It was down to the end, maybe, okay, yeah, a little bit textbook or however you want to call it, but in the middle, Josh Willis, as well as the McLaren that you were fighting with, You had some pretty ding-dong battles. How was that from your perspective?
Oh, that was a fun little battle that we had between the three of them, between the three of us. Um, I'm drawing a blank as who's driving the Acura. Because I was sitting
That
behind
was
the McLaren
Josh.
most of the time. Josh. He was not quite up to pace. I kind of kept having to back out on it, but I was doing my fuel saving during my run anyway. Even when I was sitting behind Bronson, I was just fuel saving. If he made a mistake, I got ahead of him. I was gonna make the move, but I was just completely content on just sitting behind him, saving my fuel, and trying to overcut on having a shorter stop.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I think that's kind of, we felt that in the middle of the race where you were really just you didn't look like you were pushing that hard. It almost looked like an easy performance when you were in those battles. I know obviously it wasn't, and when you're behind the wheel, and it's a lot more stressful in the moment as it always is. But one thing here before, who's our friend joining us here before we do continue this interview? Come on, we got to introduce him for them.
This is our 3-year-old Golden Maggie, and she just came. Now that I'm done racing, she decided to come over and say hi.
Let's go.
When I'm racing, she stays away, but as soon as she knows I'm done, she comes over and says hi.
I love that. Well, chat, everyone say hi to Maggie there as well. You love to see a Golden. I love Goldens. They're so awesome. So, no, Sean, all the way through and through. Again, the battles, of course, you wouldn't have finished on the podium there without the disconnect, but still finishing in third, fourth, however you want to call it. Sean Roberts, though, is there anyone that you would like to thank before we do move on here tonight?
Just thanks to you guys for the invite. I know I got this invite through Eric at a Grand Touring Motorsports. He sent me out, and I haven't turned a lap in a GT3 car here in years. I was doing prototypes in IMSA and the 12 hour, so I had the next no laps in the GT3 car. So it was kind of a bit of a trial by fire tonight.
That's awesome. Well, it looks like it was trial by fire, and you came out swimming pretty much, or I guess the sink or swim, and you definitely swam tonight, and you treaded through the water with some brilliance, Sean. So I think it's time to enjoy some champagne, and I hope you have the great rest of your evening. I hope we see you as well over at Indy in the Indy 250, as that's going to be a real corker as well.
Yep. I plan to attempt the entire season, so we'll see you guys out on track and maybe a couple more interviews. We'll see what happens.
Love to hear it, and I certainly hope we do, Sean. And on that, I hope you have a great rest of your evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. Thank you, Sean Roberts, everybody, your P3 finisher for the round 1 at Sebring. Now, up next, we're hopefully going to be hearing here from, I'm assuming, actually, well, I'm not sure. We'll be hearing from someone here very, very shortly, though, as we do have, of course, Sabre Cook, as well as a couple others joining us here for the final podium interviews. Sounds like we have Jace Wright up next here, so we get to talk to somebody that I've interviewed before. This will be nice. I get a little familiar chat here as we get to pull up Jace Wright, it sounds like, into the interview room. And there he is, Mr. Jace Wright, the Controller King. No more, I would say, huh? As that's, of course, a title that is long in the past, but I love to see you out on track here tonight, Jace, and in P2 as well. How did that feel?
Yeah, it was fine. Mostly a race of consistency. Probably about after like the third or fourth lap, it turned into just pump out hot laps and try not to mess it up. So
I was gonna
smooth.
say that. Yeah, when it came down to the beginning, obviously, you had a couple battles and you managed to make up one position pretty early on, but then after that, it was just smooth sailing. I mean, you were hot lapping. I think the gap to the front or gap to behind you was like 54 seconds and the gap in front was 30. I mean, you were cruising in no man's land. Was at a certain point that you just kind of accepted, I guess, quote unquote, the result there and just kind of locked in and focused on driving perfectly rather than driving too quickly?
Yeah. I mean, I guess after my stop, I was trying to push a little bit, see if I can make anything out of the fresh tires. But I think I spun on the second to last lap. But other than that, yeah, I was just trying to keep it consistent at least.
Well, that you did, and coming down to it, I mentioned in the broadcast that you're not just an iRacing driver. You also, of course, drive in other sims as well, iRacing, ACC, and I think LMU now as well. So having a vast experience in multiple sims, is that something that kind of either helps you or hurts you as you come into these races on iRacing?
I'd say it helps a little bit. You get a feel for different types of cars. I mean, I guess for the different sims, how the tires are, you kind of forget sometimes with sim you're driving. So it's an iRacing. You got to make sure not to push the car too much, or else once you're gone, you're gone. There's really no saving it. But other than that, I guess it helps you a little bit. Knowing what other cars can do in other sims.
Makes sense. Well, Jace, as we have it here, and we're going to be wrapping it up here shortly, but is there anyone that you would like to thank before we do move on?
Everyone at Trackalicious, they've been the main ones supporting me, and the Fusha team as well. So, big thanks to them.
Let's go. Awesome. Very, very much love out here for Jace. Right away, a couple fans in chat for him as well. So on that, Jace, I hope you have a great rest of your evening and enjoy the champagne, brother.
You too, Mike.
Up next, 2 more interviews left to go here before we do conclude the stream here tonight. Nice to hear there from Jace Wright. And I mentioned, for anyone who is unfamiliar, I mentioned the Controller King, because if anyone doesn't know, Jace, about a year ago, a year and a half ago, somewhere along those lines, he transitioned from being one of the quickest controller drivers that I've ever seen into being a wheel driver. So going from the controller over to a wheel, and then having a bit of a tough time when he did, we definitely slowed him down at first, but since then he's no longer the Controller King. He is now the Wheel King. We'll give credit where credit is due, and a big shout out there to him. Also love to see Was in chat, also DJ Grim Reaper. We are going to be hearing, though, from a race winner next. Not the overall race winner just yet, but we are going to be hearing from the women's category, Sabre Cook, up next. And Sabre, how are you doing here on this night? It was a brilliant race through the field, I have to say. You had your experience of battles.
Hold on. Can you guys hear me? Sorry,
is.
I had
Yes.
my mic turned off. Yeah, it was a fun race. I am trying to do more sim racing, and it's been fun. So races like this I'm always looking to just get better and eventually try to catch those guys at the front.
I have to say, the overtakes, obviously the qualifying performance was not quite all that it was cut out to be. I'm sure you'd admit that as well. But the race pace, you got the moves on. You and Jacob as well were locked together and pretty much stuck like glue at a certain point. You guys were inseparable, trading positions back and forth. I mean, that had to be quite a fun battle in itself.
Yes, yeah, it was really fun racing with Jacob, and I feel like it was just like a little Porsche pack going along for before the fuel stop, and then after the fuel stop, we kind of ended up in the same space together. So I think we had a good, clean race though, and it was really fun to race with him. So hopefully get to do it again at one of the next rounds.
Awesome. And now one question that I think everybody is wondering, and me in particular, is how does this car compare to its real life, I guess not counterpart, but similar counterpart in the Porsche Cayman? As of course you're maybe you have a tiny bit of knowledge in regards to that car, I would say. So how does that stack up when you compare it over to iRacing?
So I don't race the Cayman. I race in the GT3 Cup. So it's like similar-ish. No, you're good. So in the GT3 Cup and Carrera Cup, the cars are quite different. The gearing is different. So I did catch myself a few times defaulting because we just got out of our Sebring race like a couple weeks ago. So I caught myself in the wrong gear a few times in this car. I mean, obviously this car has way more downforce, so sometimes it makes your life a lot easier. And I just feel like overall the GT3 Cup is just a lot harder car to drive. It's either too much understeer or it's pretty nervous with the oversteer on the entries. So the GT3R is kind of a nice thing to jump into every once in a while as a contrast.
That's really interesting to hear. And of course, seeing the various, as you mentioned, the downforce kind of counterparts and whatnot, and with the gearing, that's something, of course, that I, as a commentator, would not have necessarily expected. So hearing that, does that play much of a kind of mind? I know you said that it did every now and then, but is that something that you can just kind of snap out of, or does it really actually, I don't want to say hurt you long term, but kind of get in the way?
No, I just kind of have to remind myself sometimes, and sometimes it's an advantage just because I can use an extra downshift, and then it helps the car turn a little bit better. So, yeah, I guess you try to remind yourself, but every once in a while you do have to kind of play with it.
Makes sense. Awesome. Well, now before we move on here tonight, is there anybody that you would like to thank for this win here?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much to Steffi Bao because she chased me up to sign up for this. So thank you to her and Init Esports. They're always such a great space for anybody in the racing world and esports world to join into. So massive thanks to them. And obviously thanks to Porsche for letting me drive their cars in real life and then getting to come hopefully represent them more in the esports space.
It was a pleasure to have you, Sabre. And on that, I hope you have a great rest of your evening and enjoy the champagne.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your evening as well.
Thank you. And lastly, we're going to have one more driver to talk to here tonight, our overall race winner. And we'll get to hear from him very, very shortly. Russell Soto, though, he had the qualifying not quite able to dethrone the man on top, but after, I don't want to say again, a bit of luck, as again, at a certain level of talent, luck and skill, they become indistinguishable, let's be honest with ourselves here. And anything can happen in racing, and it normally does, and it did tonight, and that put Russell Soto on the top and in the talking seat for the number 50 AMG, as we get to hear from him momentarily, and we'll get to see and we do have him, and here he is. So we have Russell. How are you feeling after taking the victory here tonight?
Doing great, Mike. First, just want to thank everyone who comes out to watch these races. It's an incredible audience. Feeling really lucky, as you mentioned, Mike, for sure. Feel bad for Jordan. He did an incredible race. That McLaren was just mega. I did everything I could with the Mercedes today. But yeah, overall, smooth sailing otherwise, being able to get away from the rest of the field. And I definitely kept try to do my best to keep the pressure on. However, the tire wear was just too great. Definitely had to pit for tires in that pit stop, but overall, great race.
And you kind of took the words right out of my mouth, actually, as I was going to bring up the start of this race, because we talk about qualifying. You've qualified in second, about 7/10 off of pole position. And going into it, we weren't too sure if you were going to be able to keep up with Jordan on pace. And then we got 10 laps into the race, and the delta was still 1 second. What was that about? Was it just the qualifying performance? Was it a bit of, I don't want to say a choke, but was there more pace to be had in quali?
For sure, I think there's always more pace to be had at any time. I think there's always room to improve. For sure, I definitely think I did a pretty good lap. However, a bit unlucky with draft. I could have definitely gotten a lot more closer if I had gotten behind somebody there. But it worked out the way it did. Did my best to get close, and it was enough for the front row.
And you mentioned the AMG on tire wear. Now, Sebring, of course, being a flat circuit. There's not a single bump on the track, right? Right? Said no one ever. No. A little abrasive circuit, that's for sure. So the AMG playing a bit more tire wear there. How did that feel then? Obviously, you had to take that stop. And you went for, if I'm not mistaken, you went for an undercut. No, you didn't go for the... Did you go for the undercut? Was it you that went for that?
I was first to pit, at least from the front runners.
Yes,
I think.
okay,
So,
yeah. So at the end of the race, then, were your tires able to hold up?
I think towards the end of the race with the new set, I was able to definitely hold on longer than I did in the first stint of the race. I think with the Mercedes, the engine being in the front, a lot of weight in the front, those fronts really wear out very fast in this car. Not sure if the BOP was set correctly as well for the race, but yeah, I did the best I could to manage the tire wear. Once I saw Jordan was kind of pulling away, I did my best to try, kind of keep a reserve of tire wear, make sure I'm handling everything correctly, and just controlling the pace from the rest of the grid.
Yeah, and that's pretty much exactly what we saw from you at the end of the day. A pretty much textbook performance from the pace alone, and not a single mistake to mention. That's always a great way to end the night, of course. You never want to see that. But Russell, is there anyone that you'd like to thank here before we do move on tonight?
Absolutely. I would first like to thank the organizers of the series. I'm always for a diverse and inclusive series in sim racing. I think the sport needs it. But of course, as well, my team, my FaZe family with FaZe competition, real life IMSA team, proud to be on their esports team. All the friends and family that are at the Waterford Hills Road Racing track, which is my home track where I race Mick Miata in real life. And yeah, my friends and family both in Michigan and New Jersey. Just really happy to be here, and hopefully I'll do as many rounds as I can.
Love to hear it. Awesome. Russell Soto, everybody, your P1 finisher for the first round of the Sebring 90. Enjoy the champagne.
Thank you, Mike.
Now, folks, that's going to be it here for tonight. But as I had mentioned before, that is not going to be it for the entirety of the calendar. And also Russell alluding to it as well. We'll be back, not next month necessarily. We'll be back May 3rd. That'll be the Indy 250 for the movement, excuse me, for the Team USA Talent Scout event. After that, of course, or before that, in April, we have the Screen to Speed races as well. The all-women's races coming up. 19th being Snetterton. We also have the 20th being the drifting event, which is going to be so much fun. Signups are available over on screentospeed.com if you are interested. Link down in the description as well. And on that, I want to thank everybody for joining us here tonight on the chat. Lovely support that we had. Thank you, everybody, for cheering on your favorite drivers, your favorite cars, and everything in between as tracks. We had a great little talk in chat. I thank you guys for being here. And, of course, a massive shout out to all of the drivers as well, the event organizers, and Garrett behind the scenes on production. And, of course, Full Sail University as well for their production. Big thank you to eClutch as well for being a part and hosting us on their platform. But on that, folks, we're going to be calling it. I hope everybody has a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. Join us next time. Thank you, and good night.